What do you do when the man you love, the man who vowed to protect you, becomes the one who hurts you the most? When trust is shattered in a moment of violence, and the life you built with him turns into a nightmare you can't escape? For me, Juniper, it all started with a slap, and everything I thought I knew about my family and my marriage was ripped apart in an instant. Stay tuned to find out how Juniper begins her journey from fear to strength, fighting for herself and her son, and how she finds the courage to escape the cycle of abuse. Don't forget to subscribe and follow for more stories like this, stories of survival, strength, and hope. The peaceful evening was shattered by my baby's frightened cry. My heart raced as I felt a sharp pull on my hair from behind, and before I could protect myself or my son, Caleb's hand struck my face with force. The slap echoed through the room, the sound mingling with Finn's terrified screams. "This is what happens when you can't keep our home clean." Caleb's voice was cold, unfamiliar. This wasn't the man I had married, the man who had held my hand through 9 months of pregnancy. My cheek burned, but the pain in my heart was worse. I held Finn tighter, clutching him close to my chest, trying to shield him from the chaos. I'm Juniper, 28 years old. Just 3 months ago, I gave birth to my beautiful son, Finn. When I first held him in my arms at the hospital, Caleb was right there, tears of joy streaming down his face. We had been married for 4 years, and this was supposed to be our happiest time. The early weeks with Finn were as expected, exhausting, but full of love. I was recovering from a difficult C-section, learning to breastfeed, and figuring out what each little cry meant. Caleb seemed supportive at first, sometimes getting up for night feeds, bringing me water while I nursed. But things started to shift when Finn was about 6 weeks old. The house wasn't as spotless as it used to be. Dishes piled up in the sink. Laundry stayed unfolded. Between feeding Finn every 2 hours and recovering from my surgery, keeping everything perfect was no longer possible. I noticed Caleb's expression changing when he came home from work. He'd scan the living room, taking in the baby toys scattered around, the coffee cups left on the side table, and the basket of laundry on the couch. His face would tighten, but he stayed silent at first. The comments began slowly. "Babe, couldn't you at least put the dishes in the dishwasher? Or did you spend all day at home and not fold a single basket of laundry?" Each word felt like a tiny cut, especially when I was running on 2 hours of sleep, still in my milk-stained pajamas at 4 a.m. I tried to explain how demanding Finn was, how my C-section scar still hurt when I moved too much, and how I was battling postpartum anxiety. But Caleb's patience grew thinner every day. "My mom managed 3 kids and kept a perfect house," he'd say. "Maybe you're just not trying hard enough." That's when his mother started visiting more often. Each visit felt like an inspection. She'd eye every imperfection, every unwashed dish, every blanket left unfolded. She'd run her finger along the windowsill, checking for dust, while holding Finn in her arms, telling me how a clean home was essential for a baby's health. I never thought it would escalate to this. Even as the criticism became harsher, even as Caleb's mother poisoned his mind against me, I never imagined my husband would hurt me. But here we were, on a normal Tuesday evening, with my face stinging from his slap and our baby crying in my arms. That moment, frozen in time, with Finn's cries against my chest and my cheek burning, changed everything. I stumbled back, my legs shaking. His mother stood in the doorway, watching us, her expression cold and unfeeling. She didn't flinch, not even for a second. "Maybe now you'll understand what it means to be a proper wife and mother," she said, her voice eerily calm, as if she were discussing the weather, not witnessing her son strike his wife. I felt sick to my stomach. "Caleb, please," I whispered, still not believing what had happened. "The baby, he's scared." I could feel Finn trembling in my arms, his little face red from crying, but Caleb just stood there, his hands clenched into fists, looking at me like I was a stranger. That night, after Caleb's mother finally left and he went to sleep in the guest room, I sat in Finn's nursery, rocking him gently. My mind was racing. The mobile above his crib spun slowly, casting dancing shadows on the walls, the same mobile Caleb had spent hours putting together when I was seven months pregnant. I thought about all the little changes I'd missed, how Caleb stopped asking about my day, how his mother's visits became more frequent, how the loving texts turned into constant questions about housework. The signs were there, but I was too exhausted, too focused on being a new mom to see them clearly. "It's okay, baby," I whispered to Finn as he finally drifted off to sleep. "Mommy's going to fix this." But how? I had no job. We'd agreed I'd stay home with Finn for at least a year. My parents lived 3 states away. Caleb controlled all our money. The next morning, while Caleb was in the shower getting ready for work, I did something I'd never done before. I took pictures of my face where he'd hit me. My hands were shaking so badly the first few photos were blurry. The red Caleb had turned into a light bruise. Then I texted my best friend, Phoebe. "Can you come over today, please? It's important." Phoebe had been trying to visit for weeks, but I'd always made excuses. Caleb didn't like my friends coming over when the house was messy. Now I realized why he'd been isolating me, bit by bit. When Caleb left for work, he acted like nothing had happened. He kissed Finn's head and tried to kiss me too, but I turned away. "I expect this place to look better when I get home," he said, his voice carrying that new edge of threat. "Mom's coming over for dinner." As soon as his car pulled out of the driveway, I burst into tears. Finn, sensing my distress, started fussing. I changed him, fed him, and put him in his bouncer. Then I called Phoebe again. "Juniper, what's wrong?" Her voice was filled with concern. "You never call this early." "Can you—" I choked back tears. "Can you come now? And maybe bring your brother?" Phoebe's brother was a police officer. I hadn't planned to say that last part, but somehow it came out. There was a pause on the line. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Don't clean anything. Just wait for me." As I waited, I looked around our living room. Baby toys scattered on the floor, burp cloths draped over the couch, a half-empty cup of cold coffee on the table. This was the reality of life with a newborn. This was normal. What wasn't normal was being afraid in your own home. Phoebe arrived exactly 18 minutes later. I'd been counting every second. When she saw me standing in the doorway, her eyes immediately locked onto my bruised face, and she froze. Behind her, her brother Gage, dressed in his police uniform, stepped in. His expression shifted from concern to anger as he noticed the bruise on my cheek. "Oh my God, Juniper!" Phoebe whispered, rushing toward me and pulling me into a tight hug. I broke down in her arms, all the fear and pain I had been holding onto for weeks finally spilling out. Finn began crying from his bouncer, and Gage gently picked him up, cradling him with the natural ease of a father who had done this many times before. "Tell us everything," Gage said, his voice professional but gentle. "Don't leave anything out." So I did. I told them about Caleb's changing behavior after Finn's birth, how his mother's constant criticism seemed to seep into our lives, how Caleb took control over money and isolated me from my friends. Then I told them about the violence, how it had escalated, culminating in the slap the night before. As I spoke, Phoebe took pictures of my bruised face from different angles, and Gage typed on his phone, taking notes as he listened carefully. "His mother's coming for dinner tonight," I said, my voice shaky. "She'll be here at 6, and Caleb expects the house to be perfect by then." Phoebe and Gage exchanged a look, one I couldn't quite read. "Juniper," Gage said softly, his tone serious. "You know you can't stay here, right? This isn't going to get better. It's going to get worse." I knew he was right, but leaving seemed impossible. "I don't have anywhere to go," I whispered, the words heavy with shame. "No money, no job." "You're coming to my house," Phoebe said firmly. "I've already set up my spare room. We'll grab Finn's things and Gage will help us move everything while Caleb's at work." Gage nodded. "I'm off duty, but I'll call a colleague to make sure everything's documented properly. We need to do this right, for you and Finn." The next 2 hours passed in a blur of activity. Phoebe helped me pack while Gage made calls. His colleague, Officer Linda Chin, arrived shortly after to take my statement and photographs for the official record. She also helped me file for an emergency restraining order. "But what about when Caleb comes home?" I asked, my panic rising. "And his mother?" Phoebe's eyes flashed with fierce determination. "That's the best part. You won't be here. Let them come home to an empty house. Let them see what it feels like to have someone disappear without warning, just like Caleb's love disappeared when you needed it most. As we packed Finn's things, each item seemed to carry a memory: his first yellow onesie, the blanket his mother had knitted, trying to play the perfect grandmother. The mobile that hung over Finn's crib now seemed like a symbol of the false promises Caleb had made. "Don't pack everything," Officer Chin advised, her voice calm but firm. "Just pack what you need for a few days. We can send officers with you to get the rest later." I found myself standing in our bedroom, staring at the wedding photo on the dresser. We looked so happy, so in love. But now, that image felt like a lifetime ago. "I don't understand," I said to Phoebe, who was stuffing my clothes into a suitcase. "How did we get here?" "Abuse doesn't happen all at once," she replied gently. "It's like boiling a frog. The water heats up so slowly you don't notice until it's too late. But you noticed, Juniper. You're getting out before it gets worse. That's what matters." By 3 o'clock, Phoebe's spare room had become our sanctuary. Finn was asleep in a borrowed portable crib, and I sat on the edge of the guest bed, staring at my silent phone. It was only a matter of hours before Caleb would come home to an empty house. The first message came at 5:47 p.m. "Where are you? Mom's almost here." Then, at 6 o'clock p.m., "Juniper, answer your phone now!" At 6:15 p.m., the calls started. I watched my phone vibrate across the bedside table, Caleb's face flashing on the screen. Phoebe sat beside me, holding my hand as tears rolled down my cheeks. "You better get home right now!" His voice message made me flinch. I'd never heard him so angry. "My mother is here and you've embarrassed me. Is this how you want to play it?" Then his mother's messages started coming. "This is unacceptable behavior for a wife and mother. You're tearing this family apart. Caleb is devastated. How could you be so selfish?" Phoebe took my phone and turned it off. "You don't need to see this right now," she said firmly. "Gage is outside in his patrol car and I've got the security system on. You're safe here." That first night away from home was the hardest. Every sound made me jump. Finn woke up crying at midnight, and for a moment I panicked. What if his cries bother Phoebe? Was I being a burden? Then I remembered this was what friends were for. This was what safety felt like. The next morning, Officer Chin came by with paperwork. "The restraining order has been served," she said. "Caleb can't come within 500 feet of you or Finn. We've also started the process for an emergency custody order." "He's still texting from different numbers," I admitted, showing her my new messages. "His mother, too. They're saying I'm mentally unstable, that taking Finn away from his father is abuse." Officer Chin's face hardened. "Save everything. Every text, every voicemail, every email. It's all evidence of harassment." Phoebe brought in coffee and breakfast, forcing me to eat even though my stomach was in knots. "Juniper," she said gently, "there's something else we need to talk about. I called your sister in Colorado." My heart skipped. Scarlett, my older sister, had been begging me to visit for months. I'd always made excuses. Caleb said traveling with a newborn was too risky, we couldn't afford it, and his mother would miss Finn too much. "She's flying in tomorrow," Phoebe continued, "and she's brought plane tickets for you and Finn. You need more than just distance, Juniper. You need a fresh start." The thought of leaving everything, my home, my job, my life here was terrifying. But then Finn stirred in his crib, making those little morning baby noises that melted my heart, and I knew I had to break this cycle, not just for me, but for him. "Caleb's mother is telling everyone I kidnapped Finn," I said, my voice shaking. "She's posting on Facebook, calling me unstable, saying I need help." "Let her," Phoebe said firmly. "We have police reports, photographs, witnesses. Your story is the truth, Juniper. Don't let them twist it." Scarlett arrived the next day, looking exactly like the big sister I remembered, strong, determined, and ready to fight anyone who hurt her family. The moment she saw my face, still showing traces of Caleb's handprint, she burst into tears and held me tight. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" she whispered. "All those video calls where you looked so tired, all those times you said everything was fine." "I thought I could fix it," I admitted, bouncing Finn gently as he fussed. I thought if I just tried harder, kept the house cleaner, was a better wife? Don't, Scarlett cut me off. This was never about housework. This was about control. Over the next 2 days, we prepared for our departure. Officer Chen helped us file all the necessary paperwork to legally leave the state with Finn. Phoebe and her brother Gage documented everything. Caleb's escalating messages, his mother's social media posts accusing me of being mentally ill, the growing list of flying monkeys they'd recruited to check on me. Caleb's latest tactic was playing the devoted father. Please, his messages read, just let me see my son. You can't keep him from me. I'll do better, I promise. We can get counseling. But then his mother would message right after, You're sick, Juniper. You need help. A good mother wouldn't run away. A good wife wouldn't embarrass her husband like this. The night before our flight, I sat in Phoebe's guest room, sorting through Finn's clothes. Scarlett was helping me pack, choosing what to take and what to leave behind. Look at this, I said, holding up a tiny onesie. Caleb's mother bought this. She said it was to remind me that Finn was a real part of their family. The onesie read, Grandma's perfect little man. Scarlett took it and threw it straight into the donation bag. Finn's going to have new clothes, she said firmly. Clothes without strings attached. That night, I could barely sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Caleb's face twisted in anger, felt the sting of his hand, and heard his mother's cold voice approving of my discipline. But then Finn would make a small sound in his sleep, and I'd remember why I had to be strong. The morning of our flight, Phoebe drove us to the airport, while Gage trailed behind in his patrol car, just in case. We'd gotten word that Caleb had been asking around about our plans, trying to figure out where we were headed. Remember, Officer Chen had said, you're not running away. You're escaping abuse. There's a difference. At the security checkpoint, I had to hand Finn to Scarlett while I walked through the scanner. Those few seconds apart felt like an eternity, my heart pounding in my chest. When I finally held him again, I felt a wave of relief, and together we made our way to our gate. Phoebe hugged me tightly, tears streaming down her face. You're the strongest person I know, she whispered. And when you're ready to tell your story, I'll be here to back up every word. As our plane ascended, I gazed out the window, watching my city fade beneath the clouds. Finn slept peacefully in my arms, unaware of the new life we were beginning. My thoughts drifted to Caleb, to his mother, and to the life I had thought I was building. Everything okay? Scarlett asked, giving my hand a reassuring squeeze. I looked down at Finn, then at my sister, and simply said, No, but it will be. 2 months into our new life in Colorado, I woke up to the sound of Finn's morning babbles instead of anxiety. My tiny apartment was far from perfect. Boxes remained unpacked. Baby toys littered the floor, but it was safe. It was ours. Scarlett had helped me find a job as a remote customer service representative. It wasn't my dream career, but it allowed me to work while Finn napped, and most importantly, it was income Caleb couldn't control. Each paycheck felt like another building block for our independence. Caleb and his mother hadn't stopped trying to reach me, but their attempts had changed. Now, they mostly sent guilt-ridden messages through mutual friends. Caleb misses his son so much. His mother cries every time she sees Finn's photos. They just want to be part of his life. But I had learned to see through their manipulation. My therapist, Dr. Roberts, helped me understand the cycle of abuse I'd been caught in. Your house didn't have to be spotless, she'd told me. No home with a newborn is perfect. They used that to control you. One morning, as I was brewing coffee, my phone buzzed with a text from Phoebe. She'd sent a screenshot of Caleb's mother's latest Facebook post, a long rant about ungrateful wives and stolen grandchildren. Below it, Phoebe had written, "Look how desperate they are. You must be doing something right." I couldn't help but smile. Those posts used to terrify me. Now they just seemed pathetic and desperate. Finn was growing fast, hitting milestones one after the other in our peaceful new home. He laughed for the first time during a picnic at the park with Scarlett. He rolled over on a playmat during a mommy and baby group where I made my first local mom friends. "You're a different person now," Scarlett said one evening as we watched Finn trying to crawl. "You're you again." She was right. The scared, confused new mom who thought she deserved punishment for an imperfect house was fading away. In her place was someone stronger, someone who knew her worth. Last week, I finally felt ready to tell my story. I started a blog not just about abuse, but about recovery, finding strength, and rebuilding a new life. Other mothers reached out, sharing similar experiences, and together we began forming a community of survivors. Caleb still tries to reach me through legal channels, demanding visitation rights. His mother continues to spread lies about my mental health, but none of that can hurt us anymore. We're too far away, too strong, and too supported. Yesterday, as I was folding laundry at my own pace, Finn pulled himself up to stand for the first time. I watched him wobble, then laugh proudly at his achievement, and in that moment, I realized something. This was what I had been fighting for. Not just safety from abuse, but the chance to raise my son in a home filled with love instead of fear. To anyone reading this who might be where I was afraid to leave, thinking you deserve the criticism, believing you can fix things by trying harder, please know this: you deserve peace. You deserve support. You deserve to live without fear. And to Caleb and his mother, if you ever read this, your power over us is gone. Finn will grow up knowing what real love looks like. He'll learn that strength isn't about control, it's about kindness. And he'll learn this from me, his mother, who was strong enough to walk away. What do you do when the person you love most turns into your biggest threat? How do you escape when your world, your marriage, and your family are built on lies? Juniper's life was once defined by the trust and love she had for her husband, Caleb. But everything changed the moment his abuse, both emotional and physical, came to light. After months of manipulation and control, the tipping point came when Caleb struck her in front of their baby, Finn. Her once perfect life had fallen apart, and it was in that moment she realized she could no longer stay. With Phoebe's help and the support of Officer Gage, Juniper fled to a new life in Colorado, seeking refuge from the torment Caleb and his mother had caused. Juniper's actions show that escaping abuse requires more than just courage. It takes a decision to protect yourself and your children, even when it feels impossible. The bravery to walk away was not just about getting out of an abusive relationship, but about breaking free from the years of control. In her new home, Juniper slowly rebuilt her life, finding strength she never knew she had. It wasn't easy, but each day she grew more confident in her decision. Juniper's story is a powerful testament to resilience. No one deserves to live in fear or under the control of someone else. If you or someone you know is in a similar situation, it's never too late to take back your life. What do you think of Juniper's journey? Share your thoughts in the comments, and remember, you are not alone.
The signature at the bottom of the document made my blood run cold. I knew that elegant cursive anywhere. I'd seen it on birthday cards and notes stuck to my refrigerator for years. Mara, my own sister, had forged my signature on documents that made it look like I'd been stealing from the company for months. My name is Audrey, and until today I was a senior financial analyst at Morton & Pierce Investment Group. Now I'm sitting in my car in the parking lot, a cardboard box of personal items in my back seat, trying to make sense of how my life imploded in less than 24 hours. "We have substantial evidence of fund misappropriation," Mr. Pierce had said this morning, sliding the documents across his desk. "I'm disappointed, Audrey. We trusted you." "This isn't my signature," I'd protested, my hands shaking as I flipped through page after page of falsified records. "I would never—" The forensic accountant confirmed everything. He'd cut me off with a wave of his hand. "Security will escort you out. We'll be pressing charges." My phone buzzes now. Another message from Mom. "Mara told us everything. How could you do this to the family name, to your sister's reputation at the firm?" I switch off my phone and lean my forehead against the steering wheel. Of course, Mara got to them first. She's always been one step ahead, the golden child who could do no wrong. Even now, as she orchestrates my downfall, they believe her version without question. "Audrey?" A tap on my window makes me jump. It's Dean from IT, looking concerned. "Are you okay?" I heard what happened. I roll down the window, wiping my eyes. Did you hear their version or the truth? I'm not sure I know either yet, he says carefully. But something doesn't add up. Mara's been acting strange lately, especially around Theo from accounting. Theo? I sit up straighter. What do you mean? They've been having a lot of closed-door meetings. Last week I overheard them arguing about some kind of timeline. Dean glances over his shoulder. Look, I should get back inside, but... He hesitates, then scribbles something on a sticky note. This is my personal number. If you need anything, call me. As he walks away, I unfold the note. Below his number, he's written, check the server access logs from last month. Mara's login. After hours. My hands are steadier now as I start the car. I drive to the coffee shop where Mara and I used to meet every Sunday, before she got her promotion, before things changed. I know she'll be here. It's where she holds her afternoon meetings now. Sure enough, I spot her through the window sitting with Theo. Their heads are close together, voices low. I park across the street and watch as Theo slides a USB drive across the table. Everything's there, I read his lips saying. No one will trace it back to us. Mara's smile is triumphant as she tucks the drive into her purse. The same smile she wore at dinner last week when she announced her upcoming promotion to partner, a position I'd been in line for. My phone buzzes again. This time it's Dad. We need to talk about this, sweetheart. Come home. I start typing a response, then delete it. They won't believe me. Not yet. Not without proof. But I've got something now. Dean's tip about the server logs, the USB drive, and, most importantly, I know Theo is involved. Mara exits the coffee shop, her designer heels clicking on the sidewalk. She passes right by my car without noticing me, still wearing that self-satisfied smile. 5 years of sisterhood destroyed for a promotion and a corner office. I pull out Dean's note and add it to a fresh document on my phone titled Evidence. Below it I write, coffee shop meeting, USB drive, Theo involved. It's not much, but it's a start. My apartment keycard doesn't work when I get home. They've already locked me out. The security guard watches sympathetically as I fill a suitcase with essentials. Corporate says you have an hour to clear out, he tells me. As I pack, I find a photo of Mara and me from last Christmas, arms around each other, smiling. I turn it face down in the drawer. The sister in that photo is gone, replaced by someone who could forge my signature, steal my career, and turn my family against me without hesitation. Game on, sis, I whisper, closing my suitcase. You taught me well. Never leave a paper trail. But you forgot one thing. I know all your secrets too. And I've got nothing left to lose. 6 months into my new life in Boston. And I barely recognize myself in the mirror. Gone is the polished financial analyst with designer suits and perfectly styled hair. The woman staring back at me has sharper eyes and a determined set to her jaw. I've learned that revenge requires patience and a complete reinvention. My phone lights up with a text from Dean. Mara's been promoted to managing director. Theo's right behind her. Thought you should know. I'm typing a response when my new boss calls me into her office. Audrey, I need your eyes on something. Sandra waves me over to her desk at the boutique consulting firm where I now work under an old college friend's recommendation. These numbers don't add up. I scan the spreadsheet, spotting the discrepancy immediately. It's the kind of financial sleight of hand I've become expert at recognizing. Someone's trying to hide unauthorized transfers, I explain, highlighting the relevant cells. See how they've buried it in the quarterly reports? Sandra's eyes narrow. Just like you said happened at Morton and Pierce. Similar technique, I agree carefully. We both know my history, or the version I chose to share. Want me to dig deeper? Please do. She pauses, studying me. You know, for someone who supposedly embezzled millions, you're remarkably good at catching others doing it. I meet her gaze steadily. Funny how that works, isn't it? Back at my desk, I open my private email to find a message from an anonymous account. Interested in the truth about Mara G, meet me at Cafe Luna, 7 p.m. tonight. I trace the IP address. It's from Morton and Pierce's network. My heart races, but I've learned not to trust easily. I text Dean. Know anyone still in IT who can check outgoing emails today? His response comes quickly. Lexi from accounting sent it. She's Mara's new protégé, but word is they're not getting along. At 7 p.m. sharp, I spot Lexi sitting alone in the cafe's corner, nervously shredding a napkin. She's younger than I expected, probably fresh out of college. I know what they did to you, she blurts out as I sit down. I found the original documents, before they were altered. Mara makes me process similar transactions now, but they're getting sloppy. Why tell me this? Because she's going to do the same thing to me. Lexi's voice shakes. I know too much and she's already setting me up as a fall guy, just like she did to you. I lean back, studying her. Prove it. She slides her phone across the table. On it are photos of documents, transfer records, emails between Mara and Theo, server logs. My hands itch to grab it, but I force myself to remain calm. Why not take this to the police? They've got friends in the DA's office now. Lexi pulls the phone back. Besides, half of these documents I shouldn't have access to. I'd be arrested before Mara. A waiter approaches and we both fall silent. When he leaves, Lexi leans forward. I can help you. I can get you more proof. At what cost? Protection. When it all comes out, I want immunity. And a recommendation for a new job. Somewhere far from Mara's reach. I consider her offer. Send copies of everything to this email, I say, writing down my secure address. But if you're playing me, remember, I've got nothing left to lose. Later that night, my laptop pings with an incoming email. Dozens of files, each one a piece of the puzzle I've been trying to solve. As I scroll through them, my phone rings. It's Mom. Audrey, please come home for Dad's birthday next month. The family misses you. Does Mara miss me too? I ask coldly. Mom sighs. She's worried about you, living alone in Boston. She says you've been sending her threatening emails. I sit up straight. What emails? Something about exposing the truth. Sweetheart, you need to let this go. Mara's trying to protect the family name by not pressing charges. My laugh is bitter. Of course she is. I end the call and immediately text Dean. Mara's creating a paper trail, making me look unstable. Be careful, he responds. She's got the board wrapped around her finger now. Whatever you're planning, make it bulletproof. I open my evidence folder, adding Lexi's files to my growing collection. 6 months of careful research, witness statements, and financial records. But Mara's latest move means I need to accelerate my timeline. Game's changing, sis, I mutter, creating a new folder labelled Phase 2. Time to remind you why you should have feared the quiet one. Ms. Blake will see you now, the receptionist announces, gesturing toward the corner office of the Boston Herald's investigative department. I straighten my blazer and grab my briefcase, containing months of carefully organized evidence. Vivian Blake isn't what I expected. Instead of the hardened investigative journalist I'd imagined, she's relaxed in yoga pants and a designer sweater, feet propped on her desk. So, she says, not looking up from my file, you're the whistleblower Dean told me about? The sister story. I prefer to think of it as corporate fraud with a family twist. That gets her attention. She swings her feet down and leans forward. Show me what you've got. I spread the documents across her desk. Server logs, transaction records, Lexi's photos, even screenshots of the fake threatening emails Mara's been sending herself from spoofed accounts. Impressive, Vivian murmurs, examining a particularly damning email chain between Mara and Theo. But why come to me? Why not the SEC? Because Mara's too smart for that. She's got friends in regulatory bodies now. I need someone who can't be bought. And you think that's me? I think you've built a career exposing corporate corruption. And I think you understand what it's like to be underestimated. Vivian's lips twitch. Dean said you were good. She taps the files. This is solid groundwork, but we need more. Direct testimony, insider confirmation. I've got Lexi ready to talk. The protégé? Vivian shakes her head. Not enough. We need someone higher up, someone with real authority. My phone buzzes, a text from Dean. Theo's asking questions about old server access, getting nervous. What about Theo? I suggest. He's Mara's right hand, but he's also the weak link. If we apply pressure... Now you're thinking like a journalist. Vivian grabs her phone. I know someone in the SEC who owes me a favour. Let's see how Theo handles a surprise audit. As we strategize, my phone rings. It's Sandra from work. Audrey, remember those suspicious transfers you flagged? They lead back to Morton and Pierce. The board wants to meet with you tomorrow. After leaving Vivian's office, I find Dean waiting in the lobby. He's grown his beard out since I left Morton and Pierce, but his kind eyes haven't changed. Thought you might need coffee after that, he says, holding out a cup. How'd it go? Vivian's on board, but we need more ammunition. I take a sip, savouring the familiar comfort of our coffee ritual. How well do you know Theo? Well enough to know he's been drinking at O'Malley's every night this week, alone. I raise an eyebrow. Really? Don't do anything stupid, Audrey. Dean touches my arm. Mara's dangerous when cornered. So am I. I check my watch. I should go. I have that board meeting tomorrow. Let me drive you home, at least. In the car, Dean's quiet for a while before speaking. You know, when this all started, I thought you were just angry. But it's more than that, isn't it? It's about justice, I say, watching the city lights blur past, and making sure she can't do this to anyone else. He pulls up to my building but doesn't unlock the doors. Just be careful, okay? Some people are worth losing everything for. I'm not sure Mara's one of them. I turn to face him, suddenly aware of how close we are. I'm not losing everything. I'm gaining something too. His hand finds mine in the darkness. Yeah? What's that? Myself. I squeeze his hand, then let go. And maybe something else too. Later that night, my laptop pings with an email from Vivian. Theo took the bait. SEC audit scheduled for next week. He's panicking. I'm drafting a response when someone knocks on my door. Through the peephole, I see Lexi looking terrified. Mara knows, she gasps as I let her in. Someone told her I copied the files. She's cleaning house, deleting everything. It's okay, I assure her, though my mind is racing. We have backups. You don't understand. Lexi pulls out her phone, showing me an email. She's calling an emergency board meeting tomorrow, the same one you're invited to. She's trying to get ahead of the story, I realise. Frame it her way before we can expose her. What are we going to do? I grab my phone, texting Dean and Vivian. Emergency meeting tomorrow. Mara's making her move. Time for plan B. Then I turn to Lexi. How good are you at public speaking? Her eyes widen. Why? Because tomorrow we're going to give them a show they'll never forget. I pull out my laptop, and you're going to help me write the script. Dad's birthday party feels like walking into a minefield. The moment I step into my childhood home, conversations drop to whispers. Mom's perfectly manicured smile doesn't reach her eyes as she hugs me. Audrey, we didn't think you'd come. She grips my shoulders, examining me like I'm a stranger. You look different. Boston agrees with me, I say, scanning the room. Where's Mara? Oh, running late as usual. Such a busy executive, you know how it is. I do know. I've memorized Mara's schedule better than she has. Dad emerges from his study and his face lights up. There's my girl. His hug is genuine, warming something inside me I thought had frozen. Come see what your sister sent, quite the extravagant gift. On his desk sits a gleaming Rolex, the exact model I'd mentioned buying him last year, before everything fell apart. Beautiful, I manage. Must be doing well at Morton and Pierce. Speaking of which, Mom interjects, she's being featured in Financial Weekly, rising star under 40E or something like that. The doorbell rings and suddenly she's there. Mara sweeps in like a hurricane in designer clothes, air kissing everyone's cheeks. Audrey! She freezes for a split second before recovering. What a surprise. How's the new job? Enlightening, I reply, watching her face. We should catch up. I'd love to hear about that SEC audit coming up. Her smile tightens imperceptibly. Before she can respond, Theo appears behind her, looking worse than when I last saw him. Dark circles under his eyes, slightly rumpled suit. Theo, darling, you remember my sister? Mara's voice is honey-sweet poison. How could I forget? His handshake is clammy. Still in Boston? Still drinking at O'Malley's? I counter quietly. He drops my hand like it burns. Dad calls everyone to dinner, and I find myself seated between Mom and Theo, directly across from Mara. The perfect staging for what comes next. Pass the wine, Theo, I ask innocently. As he reaches for the bottle, his sleeve rides up, revealing fresh ink on his wrist. Nice tattoo. When did you get that? Last week, he mumbles. Funny. I take a sip of wine. Isn't that right when the SEC announced their surprise audit? Mara's fork clatters against her plate. Audrey, dear, how's your love life? Still single? Actually, I've been seeing someone. He works in IT security. Fascinating field, all about digital footprints and server logs. Mom jumps in, desperate to change the subject. Did everyone see the lovely article about Mara? Not yet, I smile. But I heard Vivian Blake is working on quite an interesting piece about Morton and Pierce. Theo chokes on his wine. Mara's face goes pale. Who's Vivian Blake? Dad asks. Oh, just the most respected investigative journalist in Boston, I explain. She has a nose for corporate fraud. Speaking of which, Theo, how's Lexi doing? She quit, Mara cuts in sharply. Personal reasons. Really? I had coffee with her yesterday. She seemed fine to me. The tension at the table is thick enough to cut. Mum's hands shake as she serves dessert. Audrey, Mara's voice is steel wrapped in silk. Can we talk privately? In Dad's study, she drops the act. Whatever you think you're doing, stop. Now. Or what? You'll forge more documents. Send yourself more threatening emails. I'm trying to protect this family's reputation. Everything I did for us. No, I step closer. You did it for yourself. And now you're scared because Theo's cracking, Lexi's talking, and your perfect house of cards is about to collapse. You have no proof. I pull out my phone, playing a recording. Theo's voice slurred but clear, confessing everything at O'Malley's last night. That's just the beginning, I whisper. I learned from the best, sis. Never leave a paper trail unless it's someone else's. A knock at the door makes us both jump. It's Dad. Everything okay in here? His eyes move between us, concerned. Perfect, Mara says brightly. Just catching up. As we return to the party, my phone buzzes with a text from Dean. Vivian's story runs tomorrow. Theo just called her office wanting to talk. I watch Mara charm the room, laughing at Dad's jokes, refilling Mom's wine. She thinks she's won, that she's still in control, but I see the cracks in her facade, the way her hands tremble slightly as she raises her glass. Happy birthday, Dad, I say, hugging him goodbye. Sorry, but I have an early meeting tomorrow. With who? Mara asks sharply. I pause at the door, savouring the moment. The Boston Herald. They're doing a fascinating story on family dynamics in corporate America. You should read it. The look on her face as I leave is worth every second of waiting. Vivian's office is chaos when I arrive the next morning. Phones ringing off the hook, reporters huddled around monitors, and in the centre of it all, Theo sitting with his head in his hands. Your sister's been calling every 10 minutes, Vivian says, waving me over. The story's gone viral. Morton and Pierce's stock dropped 12% in the first hour of trading. I want immunity, Theo blurts out as I approach. I'll tell you everything, but I want a deal. That's not my decision, I reply, sitting across from him. But Vivian has friends at the SEC who might be interested in what you have to say. His confession spills out like a burst dam. The original scheme, how Mara convinced him to help frame me, the years of cooking books and falsifying records. Vivian's recorder catches every word. She said it was just once, he says, voice cracking. Just to get rid of you because you were asking too many questions. But then it became a pattern. My phone buzzes, Dean's calling. You need to see this, he says when I answer. Mara's doing damage control. Turn on CNBC. Vivian flips on the office TV. There's my sister perfectly composed in a power suit, addressing reporters outside Morton and Pierce. These allegations are completely unfounded, she's saying. My sister has a history of mental health issues and a vendetta against this company. We have documentation proving... You mean these documents? Lexi's voice cuts through the crowd. The camera swings to show her holding up a thick folder. The ones you made me forge last week? The press erupts. Mara's perfect mask slips for just a second before she recovers, but it's too late. The cameras caught it all. Send everything to the SEC, I tell Theo. Every email, every document, every conversation you remember. It's your only chance. He nods numbly, then looks up at me. I'm sorry, Audrey. I really am. Save it for the prosecutors. Back at my apartment, Dean's waiting with coffee and takeout. You okay? He asks as I collapse onto the couch. I should be celebrating, I say, staring at the ceiling. Why doesn't it feel like a victory? He sits beside me, close enough that our shoulders touch. Because it's not over yet, and because it's family. My phone lights up with a text from Mom. Please tell me this isn't true. What have you done? Before I can respond, another message appears, from Dad. I found the original documents in Mara's old room. We need to talk. I should go see him, I say, but Dean catches my hand. Not tonight. Tonight you rest. Tomorrow's going to be intense. He's right. By morning, the story has exploded. Vivian's article is everywhere, complete with Theo's confession and Lexi's documents. Morton and Pierce announces an emergency board meeting. The SEC launches a formal investigation. We've got her, Vivian says when I reach her office, but she's not going down without a fight. She's right. Within hours, Mara's legal team releases a statement claiming all evidence was fabricated, along with medical records suggesting I have a history of paranoid delusions. Those are fake, I say immediately, but Vivian's already ahead of me. Already confirmed with your actual doctors. She's desperate, making mistakes. My phone rings. It's Mara. After a year of silence, seeing her name on my screen feels surreal. What do you want? I answer. A truce, she says, her voice tight. Name your price. Whatever they're paying you for this hit piece, I'll double it. This isn't about money, Mara. It never was. Then what? Revenge? Congratulations, you've ruined me. Happy now? No, I say quietly. I'm not happy. I'm sad that my sister turned out to be exactly who I feared she was. There's a long pause. The board meeting's tomorrow, she finally says. Last chance to back down. See you there, sis. After I hang up, Dean pulls me into a hug. Whatever happens tomorrow, you're not alone anymore. I lean into him, allowing myself this moment of weakness. I know. My phone buzzes one last time, a message from Lexi. Mara just called an emergency meeting with her legal team. She's planning something big for tomorrow. Let her plan, I text back. We've got something bigger. I open my laptop, pulling up the final piece of evidence I've been saving. The original security footage from the day Mara forged my signature, captured by a camera she didn't know existed. Ready for tomorrow? Dean asks, watching me work. I think of Mum's disappointment, Dad's confusion, the family dinners that will never be the same. Then I think of all the other potential victims I'm saving from my sister's schemes. Ready, I say, hitting send on an email to Vivian. Time to end this. The Morton and Pierce lobby feels smaller than I remember. Security guards eye me warily as Dean and I walk through the metal detectors. My old badge, reactivated for today's board meeting, feels heavy around my neck. Ms. Gomez, a familiar voice calls. Mr. Pierce himself stands by the elevators, looking older than I remember. I hope you understand the gravity of today's meeting. I do, I reply. Do you? The elevator ride to the 40th floor is tense. Dean's hand finds mine, squeezing gently. When the doors open, we're greeted by a circus, reporters held back by security, board members huddled in groups, and Vivian Blake holding court near the conference room. They're all here, she murmurs as we pass. SEC investigators, major shareholders, even your parents. My steps falter. My parents? Mara invited them, trying to make this personal instead of professional. Inside the boardroom, Mara sits at the head of the table, flanked by lawyers. She looks immaculate as always, but there's a wildness in her eyes I've never seen before. Welcome, everyone, she begins as the room fills. We're here to address some unfortunate allegations. Save it, Mr. Pierce interrupts. The SEC has questions about certain financial discrepancies, which I can explain, Mara says smoothly. But first, I'd like to address the source of these malicious claims. My sister Audrey has a documented history of... Actually, I cut in, standing up. Let's talk about documentation. Specifically, this security footage from last year. I nod to Dean, who connects his laptop to the projector. The video plays, crystal clear. Mara at my desk after hours, practicing my signature before forging it on company documents. The room erupts. Mara's lawyers huddle around her, whispering frantically. I see Mom cover her mouth in shock, Dad's face hardening with disappointment. That footage is inadmissible, one lawyer shouts. It was obtained illegally. Wrong, Dean speaks up. As head of IT security, I maintained all surveillance systems legally. This footage has been authenticated by 3 independent experts. Mara stands, her chair scraping loudly. This proves nothing except that I signed some documents. As senior partner, I had authority. To forge signatures? To frame your sister for embezzlement? Vivian steps forward, dropping a thick file on the table. We have Theo's full confession, Lexi's testimony, and every document you falsified over the past 3 years. Theo? Mara laughs, but it sounds hollow. A drunk who's angry about being passed over for promotion? And Lexi, my disgruntled ex-assistant? The boardroom doors burst open. Theo walks in, followed by 2 SEC investigators. He looks sober, pressed, and terrified. Tell them what you told us, one investigator says. Theo can't meet Mara's eyes. It started with Audrey. Mara said we needed to remove her because she'd discovered irregularities in our international accounts. After that, it became a pattern. Every quarter, more adjustments, more cover-ups. You're lying, Mara's composure cracks. You helped me. You were part of everything. Yes, Theo says quietly. That's why I kept records. Insurance, I called it. Every email, every conversation, every transaction. Mr. Pierce stands slowly. Mara, is this true? She looks around the room wildly like a cornered animal. Her eyes land on our parents. Mom, Dad, you know me. I did what I had to do, for the family, for our reputation. Stop. Dad's voice is heavy with grief. Just stop, Mara. The SEC investigators move forward. Ms. Gomez, we need you to come with us. What happens next seems to move in slow motion. Mara lunges for her laptop, probably trying to delete evidence, but Lexi's faster. She grabs it first, backing away as Mara reaches for her. It's over, I say softly. Let it go. For a moment, our eyes meet. I see the sister I used to know, the one who taught me to ride a bike and helped me with math homework. Then she straightens, smooths her jacket, and turns to the investigators. I want my lawyer present for any questions. As they lead her out, Mom starts crying. Dad puts his arm around her, then looks at me. We should have listened to you. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. The boardroom slowly empties. Dean takes my hand again, and this time I don't let go. You okay? He asks. No, I answer honestly. But I will be. My phone buzzes, a text from Vivian. Stories going live in an hour. Want to comment? I look around the room where everything ended and began. Not today, I text back. Today's for family. Let's get out of here, Dean suggests. Get some coffee? I smile, feeling lighter than I have in years. Coffee sounds perfect. The courthouse steps are swarming with reporters as I make my way inside. 3 months after the board meeting, it's finally time for Mara's arraignment. The headlines scream corporate scandal of the decade and sister versus sister, the Morton and Pierce conspiracy. Ready for this? Dean asks, adjusting his tie. He's taken the day off to be here, just like he's been there every step of the way. Before I can answer, Vivian appears, notepad in hand. They're offering her a deal. 5 years if she pleads guilty and returns the money. She won't take it, I say. She'll fight. Inside, the courtroom is packed. I spot Theo sitting with his lawyer looking haunted. Lexi's there too, surrounded by SEC investigators. Mum and Dad sit in the front row, leaving space between them. The bailiff calls for order as Mara enters in handcuffs. Her designer suit can't hide how pale she's become, how the past 3 months in custody have worn her down. For a moment our eyes meet, and I see something I've never seen before in my sister's face. Fear. How does the defendant plead? The judge asks. Mara's lawyer stands. Your Honour, before entering a plea, we'd like to present new evidence suggesting my client was herself a victim of corporate espionage. Objection. The prosecutor jumps up. This is an arraignment, not a trial. Sustained. The judge looks irritated. Ms. Gomez, your plea? Mara stands slowly. Not guilty. A murmur ripples through the courtroom. Dad shakes his head. Mum starts crying again. During the recess, Theo approaches me in the hallway. She's going to try to pin everything on me, he says, voice shaking. Her lawyers found inconsistencies in my testimony. Because you were drunk when you gave it, I ask. He nods miserably. I've been sober 60 days now, but they'll use it against me. Say I was unreliable, confused. We have the footage, I remind him, and Lexi's documents. Mara claims Lexi forged those too, says she was trying to take her job. Before I can respond, shouting erupts near the courtroom doors. Mara's being led back in when she suddenly breaks away from her guards, rushing toward us. You ruined everything, she screams at me. I built this life from nothing, and you destroyed it because you were jealous. Security guards grab her arms, but she keeps struggling. Tell them the truth, Theo. Tell them who really orchestrated the whole thing. That's enough, the judge's voice booms through the hallway. Get the defendant under control, or she'll be remanded without bail. As they drag Mara away, I notice something odd. She's smiling. It's the same smile she wore the day she got me fired. She's planning something, I tell Dean later at the coffee shop. I know that look. He sets down his cup. The prosecutor called. They found a laptop in Mara's apartment with encrypted files. They're trying to crack it now. My phone rings. It's Lexi, sounding panicked. Mara's lawyer just submitted new evidence. Emails between you and me, planning to frame her, but they're fake. I never sent them. She's been preparing for this, I realise. All those months before we exposed her, she was creating a backup plan. There's more, Lexi continues. They're claiming the security footage was doctored. They have an expert witness ready to testify. I hang up and turn to Dean. Can you prove the footage is authentic? Already working on it. But Audrey... He hesitates. There's something else. Someone broke into the IT department last night. The original server logs are missing. My coffee goes cold as we piece it together. Mara's not just fighting the charges, she's trying to flip the entire narrative. Make it look like I orchestrated an elaborate scheme to frame her out of jealousy. We need to talk to Vivian, I say, standing up. If Mara wants to play this game, we'll beat her at it one last time. But when we reach Vivian's office, she's waiting with news of her own. The SEC just called, she says grimly. They found something in Mara's financial records that changes everything. Something that leads back 15 years. To our father's company. My world tilts sideways. What are you saying? I'm saying this goes deeper than we thought. Mara wasn't working alone, and tomorrow in court, she's going to reveal who really taught her how to commit fraud. I sink into a chair, remembering Dad's face when he found those documents in Mara's room, the way he's been avoiding my calls lately. Well, I say finally, looks like tomorrow's going to be interesting. Dean squeezes my shoulder. Whatever happens, we face it together. I nod, watching the sun set over Boston's skyline. The truth about our family is about to get much uglier, but for the first time, I'm not afraid of it. The courtroom falls silent as Dad takes the stand. His hands shake as he's sworn in, but his voice is steady when he speaks. Yes, I taught Mara everything she knows about creative accounting. It started at my own company, small adjustments to keep us afloat during the recession. I never meant for it to go this far. Mara sits perfectly still, watching him testify. Mum's already left the courtroom, unable to bear it. And Audrey? The prosecutor asks. Did she know about any of this? No, Dad sighs heavily. She was always too honest. That's why Mara saw her as a threat at Morton and Pierce. She knew Audrey would eventually figure it out. I feel Dean's hand slip into mine as Dad continues describing years of financial manipulation, of teaching Mara to hide money through shell companies and false documentation. The same techniques she used to frame me. During the recess, Mara's lawyer approaches with a final plea deal. Your sister's willing to testify against your father in exchange for a reduced sentence. Of course she is, I say, watching Mara whisper with her legal team. She's still trying to win. Back in session, Mara takes the stand. She's ditched her power suits for a simple blouse, playing the role of Daddy's corrupted little girl. I was just following what I was taught, she says, tears glistening. When Audrey started investigating the accounts, I panicked. I'd watched Dad handle whistleblowers before, so I did what he would have done. That's a lie. Dad stands up, but the bailiff orders him back to his seat. Vivian leans forward, whispering in my ear. She's throwing him under the bus to save herself. Classic Mara. But something's different this time. As Mara weaves her story of being manipulated by our father, I see the mask slipping. Her hands keep fidgeting with her watch, her tell when she's lying. During cross-examination, the prosecutor pulls out a surprise. We've recovered data from your encrypted laptop, Ms. Gomez. Would you like to explain these emails from 8 years ago before you even worked at Morton and Pierce? Mara's face goes white as the emails appear on the courtroom screen. Messages to offshore accounts, plans for embezzlement schemes, all predating her time with Dad's company. You weren't following anyone's playbook, the prosecutor continues. You were teaching your father your methods, weren't you? The courtroom erupts. Mara's lawyer demands a recess, but it's too late. The truth is finally out, written in Mara's own words. Dad stares at her, realization dawning. You said you learned it all from me. Because you wanted to believe it, Mara snaps, her facade cracking completely. Poor, weak Dad, so eager to think he was the master manipulator. You were just another mark. The judge calls for order as Mara's taken back into custody. Her lawyer immediately starts talking plea deals, but the prosecutor looks to me first. It's your call, Ms. Gomez. You're the primary victim here. I look at Mara. Really look at her. Behind the designer clothes and practiced smile, I see something broken that was probably always there. Offer her the original deal, I say. 5 years. But she has to make full restitution to everyone she hurt. Later, outside the courthouse, Dad catches up to me. I'm so sorry, sweetheart, I should have seen it sooner. We all should have, I reply. But we saw what we wanted to see. Your mother and I, we're selling the house, paying back everything I took, starting fresh. Good. I hug him, smelling the familiar aftershave. That's what second chances are for. Dean's waiting by his car, talking with Vivian about her upcoming book deal. Theo and Lexi stand nearby, both looking relieved it's over. Ready to go home? Dean asks as I approach. Actually, I pull out my resignation letter from the consulting firm. I have a better idea. He reads it, eyebrows raising. You're starting your own company. A financial oversight consultancy, I explain, helping companies identify and prevent fraud. Vivian's already agreed to be on the board. Using everything Mara taught you against people like her, he grins. Perfect karma. Want to help? I ask. I need a good IT security expert. His answer is a kiss that makes Vivian wolf whistle and Theo awkwardly look away. That evening, I visit Mara one last time before she's transferred to federal prison. She sits across from me in her orange jumpsuit, still somehow looking like she's wearing Prada. I don't expect you to forgive me, she says. I don't forgive you, I reply. But I understand you now, and that's worth something. She nods slowly. You won, little sister. Fair and square. No, Mara, I just stopped letting you win. Walking out of the prison, I delete her number from my phone. Some family ties need to be cut to heal properly. But as Dean drives us home through the Boston night, I feel lighter. The truth cost us our old family, but it gave me something better. A life built on honesty, surrounded by people who earned their place in my story.
The text message glowed on my phone screen like a sinister warning. We need to talk about what happened in Denver. Meet me at Cafe Luna, 3 p.m. My hands trembled as I read it again. Louis, my brother-in-law, had finally played his card. I'm Willow, and until last week, I thought I'd buried my past deep enough that it would never resurface. But here I was, sitting across from Louis at a corner table, watching him stir his untouched coffee with calculated precision. You know, Willow, he said, his voice eerily calm. When I started looking into your background for the family business merger, I never expected to find something this interesting. He slid his phone across the table, displaying a news article from 8 years ago. My throat went dry. That case was sealed. Nothing's ever really sealed these days, is it? Louis smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Imagine how devastated Olive would be if she knew her perfect little sister was involved in corporate espionage. That's not what happened, and you know it. I kept my voice steady, though my heart was racing. I was cleared of all charges. But the scandal alone would destroy you, your reputation, your marriage to Santiago, your position at the company. He leaned forward. Unless, of course, we can come to an arrangement. I gripped my coffee cup tighter. What do you want, Louis? For now, just your support at the next board meeting. Vote against the audit proposal. The audit your wife, my sister, requested. I shook my head. Olive suspects something's wrong with the books. She's not stupid. No, but she's trusting. Too trusting. Louis checked his watch. You have until Friday to decide. Otherwise, everyone learns about Denver. After he left, I sat there for another hour, my coffee growing cold. My phone buzzed with a text from Haley. Still on for dinner tonight? I needed my best friend more than ever. Can we make it my place? Need to talk. Later that evening, I paced my kitchen while Haley listened to the whole story. The wine in her glass remained untouched, a first in our 15 years of friendship. That manipulative bastard, she finally said. Have you told Santiago? I can't. I stopped pacing. The Denver incident, it's complicated. I was young, desperate, and made a terrible mistake. The charges were dropped because I helped expose a bigger fraud, but the damage was done. Santiago believes in me so completely. If he knew. Hey. Haley stood up and grabbed my shoulders. Stop. You were cleared. You did the right thing in the end. That's what matters. Try explaining that to Olive. She idolizes Louis. I pulled away and leaned against the counter. You should see how she looks at him, Haley. Like he hung the moon. Meanwhile, he's asking me to help him hide something from her. My phone buzzed again. Olive's name flashed on the screen. Family dinner Sunday. Dad's asking for everyone to come. Says he has news. Perfect timing, I muttered, showing Haley the message. You have to tell them about Louis, Haley insisted. And risk losing my sister forever. You know how she gets. Remember the Christmas incident? When she didn't speak to Mara for 6 months because she suggested Louis might be flirting with the neighbor. Haley shook her head. Your sister needs to wake up. The doorbell rang, making us both jump. It was Santiago, home early from his business trip. I quickly wiped my eyes as he walked in. Ladies' night, he asked, kissing my cheek. Hope I'm not interrupting. Actually, I was just leaving, Haley said, gathering her things. At the door, she hugged me tight and whispered, call me tomorrow, we'll figure this out. That night, lying beside Santiago, I stared at the ceiling fan spinning above us. His steady breathing usually calmed me, but not tonight. My phone lit up with another message from Louis. Tick-tock. I turned away from the light, my mind racing. Louis was right about one thing. Nothing stays buried forever. But he'd made a crucial mistake in his calculations. He thought he was dealing with the same scared woman from 8 years ago. The one who ran from Denver with her tail between her legs. He had no idea what I was capable of now. I reached for my laptop in the dark. If Louis wanted to play this game, fine. But this time, I wouldn't be the only one with secrets exposed. It was time to find out what my brother-in-law was really hiding in those books Olive wanted to audit. You're telling me Louis has access to the company's offshore accounts? Haley's voice crackled through my earbuds as I sat in my parked car outside Cooper Industries. That's not even legal without Olive's signature. Exactly. I watched employees filter out of the building for lunch break. And guess who conveniently handles all the paperwork for my sister? God, Willow, this is bigger than blackmail. Papers rustled on Haley's end. As a corporate accountant, she knew exactly what we were looking at. If he's embezzling, I need proof. I checked my watch. Lewis has his weekly golf game right now. I'm going in. Wait, what? You're breaking into his office? Not breaking in. I have legitimate access. I'm still a board member. I grabbed my laptop bag. Just stay on the line? Like I'd let you do this alone, Haley scoffed. Using my key card, I walked through the lobby with practiced confidence. Morning, Jerry. I called to the security guard. Ms. Willow, thought you worked from home on Wednesdays. Forgot some files for tomorrow's meeting. I held up my laptop bag as proof. You know how it is. The elevator ride to the executive floor felt endless. When the doors opened, I nearly collided with Mara, my younger sister. Willow, she frowned. What are you doing here? I thought you had that charity thing today. Changed plans. I forced a smile. Just need to grab something from my office. Well, hurry up. Olive's been trying to reach you. Something about Sunday dinner. I'll call her later. I waited until Mara disappeared into the elevator before speed walking to Lewis's office. You're clear, Haley confirmed in my ear. But hurry. Inside Lewis's office, I went straight to his computer. Okay, what am I looking for? Start with his email, any correspondence with banks, especially international ones. I plugged in my USB drive, running the program Haley had given me. You're sure this will work? It'll copy his entire email history without leaving a trace. Just give it 5 minutes. While the program ran, I rifled through his desk drawers. Nothing unusual until I reached the bottom right drawer, locked. Haley, he's got a locked drawer. Leave it. We don't want him knowing someone was there. Wait, I noticed something. There's a business card stuck in the crack. Using a letter opener, I carefully fished it out. What is it? Some investment firm in the Cayman Islands. I photographed both sides with my phone. And there's a handwritten number on the back. Suddenly, voices in the hallway made me freeze. Just need to grab those files from my office. Lewis's voice carried through the door. Shit! I yanked the USB drive out, closed everything, and dove under his desk just as the door opened. I thought you had golf, a woman's voice, Olive's, said. Got rained out. Listen, about that audit. I know you think I'm being paranoid, Olive sighed. But the numbers don't add up, Louis. As CEO, I need to know where our money is going. And I've shown you the reports, everything's accounted for. Then why won't you let me bring in external auditors? My heart pounded so hard, I was sure they could hear it. Under the desk, I could see their feet, Lewis's expensive golf shoes, and Olive's red heels. Because it's a waste of money, Louis said smoothly. Besides, don't you trust me? A pause. Of course I do. They left shortly after, but I waited an extra 5 minutes before crawling out. My hands were shaking as I straightened my clothes. Willow, are you okay? Haley's voice reminded me she was still there. I'm fine. But Haley, I locked Lewis's office behind me. I think my sister's in trouble. Back in my car, I called up the photos of the business card, while Haley examined the copied emails on her end. This is bad, she said finally. These transactions, he's been moving money through shell companies for months, millions of dollars. Can we prove it's illegal? Not yet, but combined with those offshore accounts. Willow, you need to tell Olive. I started my car. She won't believe me. You heard her in there. She trusts him completely. Then what's your plan? I pulled out of the parking lot, my mind racing. Sunday dinner, Dad's making some kind of announcement. Everyone will be there. You're going to expose him in front of the whole family. No. I gripped the steering wheel tighter. I'm going to give him one chance to come clean, to resign and return the money quietly. And if he refuses, then I'll destroy him. The calm in my voice surprised even me. But first, we need more proof. And I think I know exactly where to find it. The country club's annual charity gala was in full swing when I spotted Louis across the ballroom, charming a group of investors. My brother-in-law caught my eye and raised his champagne glass with a smirk that made my blood boil. "Easy," Haley whispered beside me. "Remember why we're here." I smoothed my dress and forced a smile. "Right. Where's Olive?" By the silent auction. She looks upset. Making our way through the crowd, we found my sister staring at her phone, her usual composure cracking. "Olive?" I touched her arm. "What's wrong?" She quickly locked her screen. "Nothing, I'm fine." But her voice trembled. "Just tired. Louis has been working late every night this week." "Including weekends?" Haley asked innocently. Olive's face tightened. "He's dedicated to the company." "So dedicated he's missing your anniversary dinner." I gestured to her evening gown. "That's why you're dressed up, right? He'll make it up to me." Olive grabbed another champagne from a passing waiter. "He always does." Before I could respond, Mara appeared. "There you are. Dad's looking for everyone. He wants a family photo." As we gathered near the grand staircase, I watched Louis make excuses to his group and join us. He slipped his arm around Olive's waist, but his eyes were on his phone. "Where's Santiago?" Dad asked, looking around. "Business trip," I replied. "Back tomorrow." "Always working. That husband of yours." Louis's comment carried an edge. "Must be lonely." I met his gaze. "At least he's where he says he is." The photographer interrupted our staring match, directing us into position. As camera flashes lit up the room, I felt my phone vibrate. A text from Haley. "Package delivered." While Louis was busy playing host, Haley had arranged for a courier to accidentally deliver sensitive documents to his home office instead of the company headquarters. Documents that would keep him occupied tomorrow morning, giving me time to access his real records. Later, as the gala wound down, I overheard Olive on the phone near the ladies' room. "What do you mean you're not coming home?" Her voice cracked. "Louis, it's our anniversary." "No, I understand. The investors are important." "Yes, okay. Love you too." She ended the call and pressed her forehead against the wall. "Olive," I approached carefully. She straightened immediately, wiping her eyes. "Don't start, Willow, please." "Start what?" "The judgment. The I told you so looks." She turned to face me. "I see how you watch him, like you're just waiting for him to fail." "I'm worried about you." "Well, don't be. I'm fine. Everything's fine." She grabbed her clutch. "I should go. Early meeting tomorrow." "Let me drive you home." "I have my car." She paused at the door. "Willow, do you ever wonder if we've grown too far apart?" My chest tightened. "Every day. Maybe we could do lunch next week, just us." "I'd like that." After she left, I found Haley by the bar. "We need to move faster. She's starting to suspect something's wrong." "The documents will keep him busy until noon," Haley confirmed. "I've got a friend in IT who can get us remote access to his home computer while he's distracted. And the security cameras. On a loop from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. You'll have 4 hours. I nodded, then froze as I spotted Louis leaving through a side door, not toward the parking lot, but toward the hotel attached to the club. "Follow him," Haley urged. "I'll create a distraction if needed." Keeping my distance, I watched Louis enter the hotel lobby and head for the elevators. As the doors closed behind him, I caught the floor number, 12. At the front desk, I flashed my most convincing smile. "Hi, I'm supposed to meet Mr. Cooper for a late business meeting. Could you remind me which room?" The clerk checked his computer, 1242, but he just went up with another guest. My stomach lurched. "Thank you." Back in the ballroom, I found Haley. "He's not working late with investors." "You don't know that for sure." Room 1242, I grabbed my coat. "Tomorrow isn't just about finding financial records anymore. I need proof of everything." "Willow," Haley caught my arm. "Be careful. Men like Louis. When they're cornered, they're dangerous." "So am I." I headed for the exit, my resolve hardening. And unlike him, I have nothing left to lose. The security code to Louis and Olive's house hadn't changed since last Christmas. I slipped inside, my rubber gloves catching on the doorknob. The house felt different in the morning silence, threatening, almost. "I'm in," I whispered into my phone. "Louis just called the office," Haley reported. "He's furious about the mixed-up delivery. Should keep him busy for at least 2 hours." I headed straight for his home office. Starting the download now. The USB drive Haley had prepared began copying Louis's hard drive. While waiting, I attacked the locked filing cabinet with the key I'd had copied from Olive's set during a recent sisterly lunch. "Willow," Santiago's voice nearly stopped my heart. "Are you here?" "Santiago?" I hissed into the phone. "Haley, why is my husband here? His flight must have landed early. Want me to call him?" But Santiago was already climbing the stairs. I yanked the USB drive out, shoved the files back, and ducked into the adjacent bathroom just as he reached the second floor. "Honey?" His footsteps passed the bathroom. "I saw your car outside." My phone buzzed. Another text from Louis. "Hope you're ready to play ball at tomorrow's board meeting. Would hate for Santiago to learn what kind of woman he really married." Santiago's voice came closer. "Willow?" I flushed the toilet and stepped out, forcing a smile. "Hey, you're home early. What are you doing here?" He looked confused. "Olive said you had meetings all morning." Think fast. "Left my laptop here during Sunday dinner. Olive said I could pick it up." "In the bathroom? Had to pee?" I tried to guide him toward the stairs, but he wasn't moving. "Willow." His voice turned serious. "What's really going on? You've been acting strange for weeks. Sneaking around, whispering on the phone. It's nothing. Is there?" He swallowed hard. "Is there someone else?" "What?" "No." I grabbed his hands. "Santiago, no. Never." "Then what?" The front door opened downstairs. Luis's voice carried up. "Just need to grab those files, and I'll be right back." Santiago saw the panic in my eyes. Without a word, he pulled me into the guest bedroom, closing the door silently behind us. Luis's footsteps entered his office. Papers shuffled, drawers opened and closed. "Damn it," Luis muttered. Then louder, "Hello? Anyone here?" We stayed frozen until his footsteps retreated and the front door slammed. Santiago turned to me, his expression unreadable. "Start talking." So I did. Not about Denver, I couldn't, not yet, but about Luis's embezzlement, his affairs, the blackmail. With each word, Santiago's face darkened. "I'll kill him," he said when I finished. "No," I squeezed his arm. "I have a plan, but I need proof of everything." "The hotel room," Santiago said suddenly. "Room 1242. You said he goes there regularly?" I nodded. "I have a client who owns that hotel chain. One call, and we can get the security footage." For the first time in weeks, I felt tears form. "You believe me?" Just like that. "Willow." He cupped my face. "I've known something was wrong. I thought..." "Well, it doesn't matter what I thought. I trust you. Whatever he has on you, whatever happened in Denver." "Santiago, no." He pressed his forehead to mine. "When you're ready to tell me, you will. Until then, let me help you take this bastard down." My phone buzzed. "Haley, Luis is heading back. Get out now." We barely made it to our cars before Luis's Mercedes turned into the driveway. As we drove away separately, me to work, Santiago to make that call, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. But at the office, reality crashed back. Olive was waiting in my doorway, her eyes red. "We need to talk," she said, closing the door behind her. "About Louis." My heart stopped. "What about him?" She pulled out her phone, showing me a photo. It was Louis entering the hotel with a woman I recognized as our head of marketing. "I followed him last night," Olive whispered. "After the gala, tell me I'm crazy. Tell me there's an explanation." I took her hand. "Sit down, sis. There's something you need to know." But before I could continue, my computer pinged. An email from Louis to the entire board. "Emergency meeting tomorrow. Agenda." Vote of no confidence in current CEO leadership. He was making his move against Olive, and I was running out of time. He's trying to take my company. Olive's voice cracked as she paced my office. My father's company? Sit down, I urged. You need to see this. I pulled up the financial records we'd uncovered. Lewis has been moving money through shell companies, millions of dollars, Olive. She shook her head. No, there has to be an explanation. My phone buzzed. Santiago. Got the footage? It's bad, really bad. Show her, I texted back. Minutes later, Santiago arrived with a USB drive. Without a word, he plugged it into my computer and pulled up the hotel's security footage. Olive watched in silence as Lewis entered room 1242 with different women on different dates. Her hands trembled as the timestamps showed his late meetings for what they really were. Stop. She turned away. I can't. There's more, I said gently. The offshore accounts, the falsified board documents. I said stop. She slammed her hand on my desk. Why are you doing this? Why do you hate him so much? Because he's destroying everything Dad built. I pulled out the Cayman Islands bank statements. Look at these numbers, Olive. Really look at them. She did. Her accountant's mind finally engaging past her emotions. These transfers, they don't match our books. Because he's been cooking them, using your signature. My signature? She grabbed the papers. I never signed these. Exactly. The color drained from her face. The audit, he fought so hard against it because it would expose everything. Santiago finished. Olive sank into a chair. The board meeting tomorrow. He's going to try to oust me. Not if we stop him first. I shared a look with Santiago. We have until morning to get everything in order. But Olive, we need you with us. She stared at the photo of Lewis and his latest mistress for a long moment. Then she straightened her spine, wiped her eyes, and when she looked up, I saw our father's steel in her gaze. What do you need me to do? The next few hours were a blur. Haley arrived with more financial evidence. Santiago's hotel contact sent additional footage. Olive called our family lawyer. Dad needs to know, Olive said suddenly. Before tomorrow. I checked the time. He'll still be at the office. 20 minutes later, we walked into our father's corner office. He took one look at our faces and put down his phone. What's happened? Olive laid out everything. The affairs, the embezzlement, the coup attempt. Dad listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each revelation. I trusted him, he said finally. Put him in charge of expansion, gave him access to everything. Dad, I'm so sorry, Olive whispered. I should have seen it. He shook his head. No, I should have listened when you wanted that audit. He turned to me. And you've been investigating this alone? Not alone, I said, thinking of Haley and Santiago. But there's something else you should know about why Lewis targeted me first. Denver, Dad said simply. I stared at him. You knew. I'm on the board of that company, remember? I knew the whole story. How they tried to frame you, how you helped expose their fraud instead. He smiled sadly. I was waiting for you to tell me in your own time. Fresh tears spilled down my cheeks. I thought you'd be ashamed. Of what? My daughter doing the right thing. He stood up. Now, about tomorrow's meeting. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Parking garage. Level 3. Now. Come alone, or the Denver files go public. Lewis, I breathed. What? Olive grabbed my phone. Willow, no, it's not safe. This might be our only chance to get him to confess. I headed for the door. Have security ready, and record everything. I'm coming with you, Santiago insisted. No. I touched his cheek. I need to do this alone, but stay close. The parking garage was dimly lit and eerily quiet. I found Lewis leaning against his car, smoking, a habit Olive had made him quit years ago. I have to admit, he said, you played this well, getting Santiago involved, turning Olive against me. You did that yourself, he laughed darkly. Maybe, but I'm not going down alone. He pulled out his phone. One call, and everyone learns about Denver. Your perfect life implodes. Go ahead. I stepped closer. I'm not afraid anymore. No? He moved suddenly, grabbing my arm. You should be. Actually, I smiled. You should. The garage lights blazed on. Security officers emerged from behind pillars. And there was Olive, phone raised, recording everything. It's over, Lewis, she said. Let her go. His grip tightened for a moment. Then, finally, he released me. As security led him away, I heard him mutter, "You'll regret this." But watching him go, seeing Olive's strength, feeling Santiago's arms around me, I knew I wouldn't. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe again. Tomorrow's board meeting was going to be interesting. The boardroom crackled with tension as directors filed in. Louis sat at the far end, his usual smirk firmly in place, despite last night's confrontation. Beside me, Olive gripped her folder so tight her knuckles turned white. You okay? I whispered. She nodded slightly. Just want this over with. Mara slipped into the seat across from us, confusion clear on her face. What's going on? Why's everyone so tense? Before anyone could respond, Dad called the meeting to order. We're here to address serious allegations regarding company leadership. Yes, Louis stood, straightening his tie. As outlined in my email, I move for a vote of no confidence in the current CEO. Murmurs rippled through the room. Louis clicked his presentation remote, and graphs appeared on the screen. Under the current leadership, our profits have declined, our expansion plans have stalled, and questionable decisions have put our company at risk. I watched the other board members' faces as Louis wove his web of lies. Some nodded, others frowned. Mara looked increasingly troubled. Furthermore, Louis continued, I have evidence of mismanagement that, actually, Olive cut in, her voice steady. I'd like to present some evidence of my own. She nodded to our IT director, who switched the display to our presentation. The first slide showed Louis's offshore accounts. What is this? Louis demanded. The truth, Olive stood. These are unauthorized transfers you made using my forged signature. Over $12 million, siphoned through shell companies in the Cayman Islands. The room erupted. Louis's face reddened. These documents are clearly fabricated. They're authenticated by 3 separate forensic accountants, Dad interrupted, as is the evidence of your other activities. The next slides appeared, hotel receipts, security footage, bank statements. With each revelation, Louis's composure cracked further. This is absurd, he sputtered. You can't what? I stood. Can't expose your affairs, your theft, your blackmail attempts. Shut up. He pointed at me. You want to talk about exposure? Tell them about Denver. Tell them what you did. Dead silence fell. All eyes turned to me. I took a deep breath. 8 years ago, I discovered fraud at my previous company. When I reported it, they tried to frame me as the perpetrator. Instead of running, I worked with federal investigators to expose the real criminals. The case was sealed to protect the investigation, but I have nothing to hide. She's lying. Louis's voice rose. She's trying to destroy me because you're stealing from my family? Olive's voice cracked. Because you're sleeping with half the executive floor. Because you threatened my sister. Olive, baby, please, don't. She held up her phone, playing the garage recording. Louis's threats echoed through the boardroom speakers. Mara gasped. Other board members shifted uncomfortably. Louis's face went from red to white. The police have been notified, Dad announced. They're waiting outside, but first, he turned to the board. We need to vote, all in favor of removing Louis from his position and pressing charges. Hands rose around the room. Even those who'd nodded during Louis's presentation now turned against him. You can't do this, Louis said. But his voice had lost its power. I built this company's international division. While stealing from it, Olive countered. Security will escort you out. The police will handle the rest. As security officers entered, Louis made one last desperate move. He lunged across the table, reaching for the laptop with the evidence. Santiago, who'd been quietly watching from the doorway, moved faster. He caught Louis mid-lunge, pinning him against the wall. "Touch my wife or her family again," Santiago growled, "and fraud charges will be the least of your worries." The police led Louis away in handcuffs. Through the boardroom windows, we watched him ducking into a patrol car, his perfect suit wrinkled, his carefully crafted image shattered. Mara approached us, tears in her eyes. "Olive, I'm so sorry. I had no idea." Olive hugged her tightly. "None of us did, not for a long time." "What happens now?" someone asked. Dad cleared his throat. "Now we rebuild. Starting with a full audit, complete transparency, and," he smiled at Olive, "the right CEO leading the way." As the board members filed out, Haley poked her head in. "Is it over?" I nodded, exhausted but relieved. "It's over. Good." She held up a bottle of champagne. "Because this calls for a celebration." Later, as we gathered in Dad's office, glasses raised, I watched my family, bruised but unbroken. Olive was already discussing recovery plans with the CFO. Mara and Haley were laughing about something. Santiago hadn't let go of my hand since the confrontation. "To truth," Dad proposed. "To family," Olive added. I raised my glass, finally free of secrets and shadows. "To new beginnings." The courthouse hallway buzzed with tension as we waited for Louis's arraignment to begin. 3 weeks had passed since the boardroom showdown, but the wounds still felt fresh. "You don't have to be here." Santiago squeezed my hand. "Yes, I do." I watched Olive pace nearby, her designer heels clicking against the marble floor. "We all do." Our lawyer approached, briefcase in hand. "They're ready. Remember, no outbursts, no matter what he says." Inside the courtroom, Luis looked smaller somehow. His expensive suit had been replaced by standard-issue orange, his usual swagger reduced to defeated shuffling. As the charges were read, embezzlement, fraud, forgery, extortion, I felt Olive trembling beside me. Mara reached across to hold her hand. "How does the defendant plead?" Louis stood. For a moment, his eyes locked with mine, and I saw a flicker of his old arrogance. "Not guilty, Your Honor." Olive's sharp intake of breath echoed through the quiet courtroom. "Very well. Bail is set at—" "Your Honor," the prosecutor interrupted. "Given the defendant's extensive overseas connections and the amount of money still unaccounted for, we request he be held without bail." Louis's attorney objected, but the judge agreed. As officers led Louis away, he turned suddenly. "Olive," his voice cracked. "Baby, please. Tell them this is all a mistake." Olive stood, her voice clear and strong. "The only mistake was trusting you." Outside, reporters swarmed us. Dad stepped forward, shielding his daughters from the cameras. "The family has no comment at this time," our lawyer announced. "However, Cooper Industries will be issuing a statement regarding the company's path forward." Back at the office, Olive buried herself in damage control. I found her surrounded by papers, her eyes red but determined. "The external auditors found another account," she said without looking up. "In Singapore this time." "How much?" $3 million. She finally met my gaze. Did I really miss all the signs? Was I that blind? "He fooled everyone." "Not you." She pushed back from her desk. "You saw through him from the start." "Why didn't I listen?" "Because you loved him." I perched on her desk. "That's not a weakness, Olive." "Isn't it?" She held up a photo from her desk, their wedding day. "Look at his face. He was smiling like that while stealing from us, sleeping around, threatening you." I took the photo and dropped it in the trash. "Then let's focus on what's next." Her computer pinged, an email from the prosecutor's office. As she read it, her face paled. "What is it?" "Louis's attorney." She swallowed hard. "They're offering a deal. If he returns the money and pleads guilty to reduced charges." "That's good, right? Saves us a trial." "There's more." She turned the screen toward me. "He wants to talk to me, alone." "Absolutely not. I need to know why, Willow." Her voice cracked. 10 years of marriage, and I never really knew him. I need answers. Which is how we ended up at the detention center the next day, watching Olive walk into the visitation room alone. Through the observation window, I saw Louis in his jumpsuit, hands cuffed to the table. "She's got this," Haley assured me. 20 minutes later, Olive emerged, her face unreadable. "Well?" I asked. He confessed. She walked straight to the exit, to everything. Said he never meant for it to go this far, but once he started. Did he apologize? Oh, he apologized. She laughed bitterly. Right before asking me to write a letter to the judge requesting leniency. In the parking lot, she suddenly stopped. He said something else, about Denver. My heart stopped. "Olive." He told me the whole story, about how you discovered the fraud, how they tried to frame you, how you helped bring down the real criminals. She turned to face me. "Why didn't you tell me?" I was ashamed. Scared of how you'd react. Scared? She shook her head. "Willow, you were a hero. You did the right thing, no matter the cost." She hugged me fiercely. "I'm so sorry I let him use that against you." My phone buzzed, a news alert. Louis had accepted the plea deal. 15 years, full restitution, no possibility of early release. "It's really over," Olive whispered. But looking at my sister, seeing her strength, her resilience, I knew it wasn't over. It was a beginning, of healing, of rebuilding trust, of becoming the family we were meant to be. "Come on," I linked my arm through hers. "Dad's waiting. Something about a new company direction he wants to discuss." As we walked to the car, Olive squeezed my arm. "Thank you for not giving up on me." "Never," I promised. "That's what sisters are for." The autumn breeze carried the scent of grilled food and laughter across our backyard. Santiago manned the grill, while Dad and Mara argued playfully about proper burger flipping technique. Through the kitchen window, I watched Olive arranging a salad, her shoulders relaxed for the first time in months. "Need help?" I asked, joining her. "Actually," she pulled an envelope from her purse. "I need your opinion on something." Inside was a letter from Louis's attorney, requesting one final meeting before his transfer to federal prison. "You're not considering it?" "No." She tore the letter in half. "I just wanted you to know I'm done looking back." The doorbell rang. Haley burst in, waving a newspaper. "Have you seen this?" The headline read, "Cooper Industries launches Women's Business Initiative." Below was a photo of Olive and me at the program's announcement ceremony. "Dad's idea?" Haley asked. "Mine, actually." Olive smiled. "Using the recovered funds to help women start their own businesses, teach financial literacy, turn something ugly into something beautiful," I finished. "Speaking of beautiful," Haley nodded toward the window. Outside, Santiago was showing Mara's daughter how to make the perfect s'more, while Dad set up the projector for our outdoor movie night. The scene looked like every family gathering should. Warm, genuine, free from shadows. "Dinner's ready," Santiago called. As we carried food outside, Olive grabbed my arm. "Wait, before everyone sits down." She handed me another envelope. "Open it." Inside was a legal document. My hands trembled as I read it. "Co-CEO?" I looked up. "Olive, I can't." "Yes, you can." She gripped my shoulders. "You saved this company, Willow. More importantly, you saved me. I want us to rebuild it together, the way Dad always intended. Is this a private sister moment, or can anyone join?" Mara peered, balancing plates. "Actually," I showed her the document. "What do you think about handling our international legal division?" Her eyes widened. "Really?" "Family business," Olive said simply. "Emphasis on family." Dad clinked his glass, gathering everyone around the table. The setting sun painted the sky in shades of pink and gold, making everything feel magical. "Before we eat," he said, "I want to say something." He looked at each of us in turn. "These past months have tested us, hurt us, but look at us now. Stronger than ever," Mara added. "And smarter," Olive smiled. "No more blind trust. No more secrets," I agreed. Catching Santiago's eye, he winked, knowing I'd finally told him everything about Denver. To new chapters, Dad raised his glass, and second chances, Olive added. My phone buzzed. A text from our lawyer. Lewis's transfer complete, case officially closed. I switched off my phone without responding. Some chapters didn't need revisiting. Hey, Santiago pulled me close. You okay? Better than okay. I watched my family, Mara teaching her daughter to balance a loaded plate, Haley arguing with Dad about movie choices, Olive laughing at something Santiago's brother said. I'm home. Movie time, Mara's daughter announced, chocolate smeared across her face. As everyone settled into chairs and blankets, I heard Olive humming, an old song our mom used to sing. When she caught me watching, she didn't stop or look away. Instead, she smiled and continued, letting the melody carry across our gathering. The opening credits rolled, but I barely noticed them. I was too busy memorizing this moment. The warmth of Santiago beside me, the sound of my family's laughter, the feeling of finally being free from the weight I'd carried for so long. Pass the popcorn, Haley whispered, snuggling into her chair. And stop looking so philosophical. It's movie night, not therapy. I threw popcorn at her head, starting a mini food fight that had Dad rolling his eyes and Mara's daughter giggling uncontrollably. Children, please, Olive said in her best CEO voice, but she was fighting a smile. As peace restored and the movie played, I felt Santiago squeeze my hand. Proud of you, he murmured. I squeezed back, thinking of all we'd overcome. The blackmail, the threats, the fear. They'd tried to break us. Instead, they'd forged us into something stronger. Above us, stars began appearing in the darkening sky. The movie played on, but the real story, our story, was written in the quiet moments between scenes. In Olive's renewed confidence, in Mara's growing trust, in Dad's proud glances. In the end, it wasn't about revenge or justice. It was about family, about truth, about finding our way back to each other. And as I sat there, surrounded by love and laughter, I knew we'd found something better than victory. We'd found ourselves.
The crystal champagne flute shattered in my grip, sending shards across the marble floor of our family's grand foyer. Blood trickled down my palm, but I barely noticed the pain. My parents' voices drifted from Father's study, their words piercing me deeper than any broken glass could. The merger with Graham Industries depends on this marriage, Whitney. Trinity will do as she's told, just as she always has. I'm Trinity, and at 25 years old, I was still nothing more than a bargaining chip in my parents' endless game of social chess. Xander, darling, of course she will. My mother's voice dripped with honey. We've raised her to understand her responsibilities. The wedding will proceed as planned. My hand trembled as I pressed a silk napkin against the cut. The wedding they spoke of, my wedding, was news to me. But then again, most decisions about my life were made without my input. Trinity! Mother's sharp call made me jump. What's that awful noise? Come here at once! I quickly kicked the broken glass under a nearby console table and hurried to the study, hiding my bleeding hand behind my back. The heavy double doors opened to reveal my parents in their natural habitat. Father behind his mahogany desk, Mother perched on the leather chaise lounge like a bird of prey. There you are, darling, Mother said, her perfectly painted lips curving into a practiced smile. We have wonderful news. Father didn't even look up from his laptop. You'll be having dinner with Otis Graham tomorrow evening. Wear something appropriate. Otis Graham? My voice came out smaller than I intended. The CEO of Graham Industries. His son, dear, Mother corrected, rising to adjust my collar. He's only 28, quite handsome and very eligible. The perfect match. I stepped back from her touch. Match for what exactly? Don't be obtuse, Trinity, Father snapped, finally meeting my eyes. This merger could double our market share. The Grahams are old money, just like us. It's a natural alliance. Through marriage? I said flatly. My marriage. Mother waved her hand dismissively. Oh, don't be dramatic. This is how things are done in our circle. I met your father through a similar arrangement, and look how well that turned out. I glanced between them, my father, who treated his family like employees, and my mother, who turned manipulation into an art form. Yes, look how well indeed. And if I refuse? The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Father's fingers stopped typing. Refuse? Mother laughed, but her eyes were steel. Why would you refuse? This is the opportunity of a lifetime. The Grahams have 3 houses, a yacht, and connections throughout Europe. Otis is quite taken with your photos. My photos? Heat rushed to my face. You've been showing my pictures to strangers? Business associates, Father corrected. And yes, Otis was particularly impressed with your charity gala photographs. He appreciates a woman who understands social obligations. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Probably River, my best friend, and the only person who saw me as more than a corporate asset. I longed to answer it, to escape this suffocating room. I have plans tomorrow evening, I said quietly. Cancel them. Father's tone left no room for argument. The restaurant is already booked. 7 p.m. sharp at LeBlanc. Don't disappoint us, Trinity. I turned to leave, but Mother caught my arm. What happened to your hand, dear? Blood had seeped through the napkin, leaving crimson spots on the white silk. I broke a glass. Well, clean yourself up, she sighed, and do something about those dark circles under your eyes. We can't have you looking tired when you meet Otis. I fled the study, but not before hearing my father's final words to my mother. Call the wedding planner. I want everything arranged by next month. The fiscal quarter ends soon, and we need this merger locked down. In my room, I finally checked my phone. River had sent 3 messages. Hey, you okay? Trinity. Call me ASAP. I have an idea. I sank onto my bed, tears threatening to spill, my whole life reduced to a business transaction, a merger, a deal to be closed. Through blurry eyes, I typed back, I need help. They're trying to marry me off to a stranger. River's response was immediate. Pack a bag. Don't let them see you cry. I'm coming to get you tonight. I looked around my luxurious prison, at all the pretty things that had never quite made up for the lack of real love. My hand throbbed, but my heart beat faster with something new. Hope, or maybe it was fear. Either way, I knew tomorrow's dinner would never happen. I had other plans that would shatter more than just a champagne flute. The security cameras went dark at exactly 2 a.m. River had promised to handle it, though I never asked how. I crept down the servants' staircase, my heart thundering so loudly I feared it would wake the entire house. 1 backpack, that's all I allowed myself. Some clothes, essential documents, and the emergency cash I'd been secretly stashing for months. Going somewhere, miss. I froze. Martha, our housekeeper, stood at the bottom of the stairs. In her 30 years of service, she'd been more of a mother to me than Whitney ever was. Martha, The words stuck in my throat. She pressed a small envelope into my hands. Your mother's been planning your wedding all evening. The cake tasting is scheduled for next week. She paused, then pulled me into a tight hug. Be safe, Trinity. Be free. Tears pricked my eyes as I hugged her back. Thank you, I whispered. I never saw you, she said, disappearing into the darkness of the kitchen. My phone vibrated. Cars waiting at the gate. I slipped through the garden, staying in the shadows of the carefully manicured hedges. The iron gates loomed ahead, their security keypads blinking red instead of green. River had done her job well. A black sedan idled just beyond the gate, its engine a soft purr in the night. I squeezed through the gap we'd discovered years ago, a design flaw in the fence that my parents never knew about. Get in, River hissed from the driver's seat. I dove into the passenger side, my hands shaking so badly I could barely close the door. River pulled away smoothly, no squealing tires or dramatic acceleration, just a quiet disappearance into the night. Did anyone see you? she asked, keeping her eyes on the road. Just Martha. She won't tell. Good. River handed me a burner phone. Your regular phone? I pulled it from my pocket and rolled down the window. The expensive device sailed into a drainage ditch. Gone. Smart girl. There's a new ID and bank cards in the glove compartment. Reagan came through. Reagan, I asked, pulling out the envelope. Who's that? Someone who helps people like you. She's expecting us in Seattle. I stared at the driver's license in my hands. Same photo, different name. How did you arrange all this? River's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Let's just say I know what it's like to need an escape route. Reagan helped me once, too. The city lights faded behind us as we hit the highway. I kept expecting police sirens, my father's security team, something. But there was only the hum of tires on asphalt and the soft sound of River humming along to the radio. My phone would be trackable until the battery died, lying in that ditch. By the time they found it, we'd be hundreds of miles away. They'll look for me, I said quietly. Probably. But you're 25, Trinity. Legally, they can't do anything. I opened Martha's envelope. Inside was a letter and a small key. Dear Trinity, it read, this key opens a safety deposit box at First National Bank in Seattle, account number 2247. What's inside might help you start your new life. I've been saving for you since you were a little girl who cried about being forced into pageants. Your parents never knew. Be brave, dear one. Martha. Fresh tears spilled down my cheeks. River reached over and squeezed my hand. You okay? No, I admitted, but I will be. The sun was rising when River's phone chimed. She glanced at it and smiled. Reagan says your room is ready. We'll be there by tonight. What's she like? Tough. Fair. She runs a legitimate business consulting firm, but she has a soft spot for people running from toxic families. She'll help you find work, build a new life. I leaned back in my seat, watching the morning light paint the sky in shades of hope. My parents would be waking up soon. Mother would be furious when she discovered my empty bed. Father would be more concerned about the merger falling apart. River? Yeah? Thank you for everything. She smiled, her eyes still on the road ahead. That's what real family does. My phone would be discovered soon. The police might be called. But I wasn't a missing person. I was a woman choosing her own path for the first time in her life. I pulled out the new driver's license again. Trinity was gone. According to this, I was now Emma Parker, age 25, from Portland, Oregon. Emma, I whispered, trying the name on for size. It felt like freedom. River turned up the radio as we crossed the state line. Welcome to your new life, Emma. Behind us, the sun rose fully, burning away the last shadows of my old life. Ahead lay Seattle, Reagan, and a future that was finally, completely my own. Seattle greeted me with rain and the smell of coffee. After 3 weeks, I was starting to understand why River had chosen this city for my fresh start. The constant drizzle felt like it was washing away my old life, one drop at a time. You're holding the espresso machine wrong again, Reagan called from behind the counter of her cafe. Tamp the grounds firmly, but don't crush them. I readjusted my grip, trying to mirror her movements. The cafe was my cover job, the perfect place to learn how to blend in with regular people while I got my feet under me. The basement of the building housed Reagan's real business, helping people disappear and rebuild. Better, she nodded as I successfully pulled a shot. You're learning fast, Emma. The name still felt strange, but I was getting used to it, just like I was getting used to wearing jeans instead of designer dresses and having coffee stains on my apron instead of perfect manicures. The bell above the door chimed. Morning, boss, River walked in, shaking rain from her umbrella. She'd moved to Seattle 2 weeks after me, claiming a job transfer, but I knew she'd done it to keep an eye on me. Your usual? I asked, already reaching for the oat milk she preferred. Actually, we need to talk. Her serious tone made me pause. Privately. Reagan nodded toward the back office. Take 5, Emma. I'll cover the front. River closed the office door behind us and pulled out her tablet. Your parents made the news. My stomach dropped as she showed me the headline. Cooper Industries announces surprise merger delay. Stocks plummet. They're looking for you, River continued. Private investigators, social media campaigns, the works, they're spinning it as a mental health crisis, claiming you're unstable and need help. I laughed bitterly. Of course they are. Can't admit their perfect daughter just didn't want to be their puppet anymore. There's more. River swiped to another article. The Grahams are threatening to pull out completely. Your father's company is taking a hit. Good, I said, but my voice shook slightly. Despite everything, seeing my father's empire crumble didn't feel as satisfying as I'd imagined. A knock at the door made us both jump. Reagan entered, carrying 3 coffee mugs. Thought you might need these. Also, Martha called. Is she okay? I asked quickly. They didn't fire her, did they? She's fine. Smart woman, convinced your parents she had no idea about your plans, but she says they're getting desperate. Your mother's been drinking more than usual. I wrapped my hands around the warm mug, remembering all the times I'd found Mother with her special tea that smelled like vodka. What do they expect me to do? Just come running back? Actually, Reagan sat on the edge of her desk. This might be an opportunity. Martha accessed some files in your father's study. Apparently, the Graham merger isn't just about business. There are some questionable transactions that would be buried in the merger paperwork. Illegal transactions? I asked. Let's just say the SEC would be very interested. Reagan's eyes met mine. Your father's desperate because he needs this merger to cover his tracks. The implications hit me like a wave. All those years of being the perfect daughter, and my father had been breaking the law behind his mahogany desk. I got something else, River added, pulling an envelope from her bag. Remember that safety deposit box Martha told you about? I nodded. I'd been too scared to visit the bank yet, afraid it might somehow lead my parents to me. I had my contact at the bank check it out. It's not just savings, Trinity, it's documentation, years of it. Martha kept records of everything she saw or heard in that house. My hands trembled as I took the envelope. Inside were copies of some of Martha's records. Dates, transactions, overhead conversations, all meticulously noted. Martha wasn't just a housekeeper, Reagan said softly. She was building you a safety net, and maybe now, some leverage. A notification popped up on River's tablet. An email from my mother's lawyer demanding information about my whereabouts. They're not going to stop, I said, standing up, but maybe it's time they learned what it feels like to be powerless. Reagan smiled, but her eyes were serious. Revenge is a dangerous game, Emma. Are you sure you want to play it? I thought about all the years of control, of being paraded around like a prize horse, of having my entire life planned without my consent. I don't want revenge, I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice was. I want justice, and now I have the power to get it. The cafe's morning rush bell rang, calling me back to work, back to my new life of simple pleasures and honest work. But now I had something else too, a way to ensure my parents could never force anyone else to live the life they'd planned for me. Time to get back to work, I said, straightening my apron. Those espresso shots won't pull themselves, but this time, as I returned to the counter, I was smiling. The game had changed, and for once I held all the cards. Happy 6-month freedom anniversary! River placed a cupcake with a single candle in front of me. The tiny flame flickered in the dim light of my small apartment, casting dancing shadows on the walls. You're ridiculous, I laughed, but my heart swelled. These small celebrations meant more than all the elaborate parties my mother had ever thrown. Reagan raised her wine glass. To Emma Parker, my best barista and most successful renovation project. I'm not your project, I protested, but clinked glasses with her anyway. The cheap wine tasted better than any champagne I'd sipped in my father's study. My phone buzzed. A news alert. River reached for it first, her smile fading as she read the screen. What is it? I asked. Cooper Industries stock dropped another 15% today, she read. CEO Xander Cooper announces temporary step back from daily operations due to health concerns. Health concerns? Reagan scoffed. More like stress from trying to cover his tracks. The SEC is sniffing around just like we predicted. I took the phone, staring at my father's photo. He looked older, greyer. The confident smirk I remembered was replaced by tight, worried lines around his mouth. "Your mother's been calling Martha daily," River added gently, asking if she's heard anything. "Have they figured out you helped me?" I asked, suddenly worried. River shook her head. "No. I covered my tracks well. Besides, they're too focused on damage control to look closely at anyone else." The cupcake sat untouched, its candle now just a pool of wax. 6 months of freedom, of learning who I was without my parents' constant control. I had a job, an apartment, real friends. But I also had Martha's documents, burning a hole in my dresser drawer. "I saw Otis Graham on TV yesterday," Reagan said, refilling our glasses. "He's engaged to some socialite from New York. Guess he moved on pretty quick." "Good for him," I muttered. At least he had a choice. A knock at the door made us all freeze. No one knew my address except the people in this room. River moved to the window while Reagan positioned herself between me and the door. "Who is it?" I called, trying to keep my voice steady. "Delivery for Emma Parker." I looked at Reagan, who nodded. When I opened the door, a courier handed me a thick manila envelope and left without a word. "It's from Martha," I said, recognizing her handwriting. Inside was a USB drive and a letter. "Dear Trinity," I read aloud. "Your father's been asking questions about the missing files from 2019. He doesn't know I have copies, but he's desperate enough now that he's starting to make mistakes. Yesterday, I overheard him talking about offshore accounts. Be careful. Love, Martha." River plugged the USB into her laptop. "Holy shit," she whispered as documents filled the screen. "These aren't just questionable transactions. This is full-blown fraud. Look at the dates," Reagan pointed, "all leading up to when they tried to force you into that marriage. The Graham merger wasn't just about social climbing. They needed it to hide all of this." My hands shook as I scrolled through years of illegal activities. All those charity galas, all those society parties, funded by fraud and corruption. "What do I do with this?" I asked. "That depends," Reagan said carefully. "Do you want to destroy them? Or do you want to make them face consequences?" "They're already facing consequences," River argued. "Look at them. Their perfect world is crumbling without Trinity to prop up their plans." I thought about Martha, still working in that house, watching my parents unravel, about all the other daughters they might try to use if they recovered from this setback. "I want them to face real justice," I said finally. "Not just social embarrassment or financial setbacks. They need to answer for what they've done." Reagan nodded slowly. "I know someone at the SEC. We can arrange an anonymous tip, provide the documentation. But once we do this, there's no going back. Are you ready for that?" The candle on my cupcake had completely melted, leaving a small, dark pool. Like the darkness I'd escaped 6 months ago. But I wasn't that scared girl anymore. "Do it," I said. "But first, I need to warn Martha. Get her out before everything explodes." River squeezed my hand. "We'll help. That's what real family does, remember?" I looked around at my tiny apartment, at my true friends, at the life I'd built from scratch. My parents had taught me that power came from money and control, but real power, I'd learned, came from choosing your own path and standing up for what's right. "To justice," I said, raising my glass, "and to family. The kind we choose." The night stretched ahead, full of plans and possibilities. Tomorrow the real work would begin. But tonight, surrounded by love and truth, I was finally, completely free. The morning news hit like a thunderbolt. I was pouring coffee at the cafe when every phone in the place buzzed simultaneously with the alert. Cooper Industries was under federal investigation. "Emma," Reagan appeared at my elbow. "Take a break. Now." In the back office, River was already waiting, her laptop open to a live news feed. My father stood at a podium, cameras flashing as reporters shouted questions. Mother stood beside him, her face a frozen mask of dignity, but I could see the slight tremor in her champagne-manicured hands. The allegations against Cooper Industries are completely unfounded, Father was saying. We will cooperate fully with the investigation and expect to be fully cleared of any wrongdoing. Turn it up, I whispered as a reporter stood. Mr. Cooper, sources say this investigation was triggered by an anonymous whistleblower with extensive documentation. Do you have any comment on the identity of this person? My father's face tightened. We have reason to believe this is a coordinated attack by our competitors, possibly in connection with my daughter's current situation. Your daughter? Another reporter jumped in. Trinity Cooper has been missing for 6 months. Are you suggesting she's involved? My daughter is unwell. Mother stepped forward, her voice cracking perfectly on cue. We're deeply concerned about her mental state and the people who may be manipulating her. Trinity, if you're watching this, please come home. We can help you. I clicked the laptop shut, my hands shaking. They're trying to discredit me before I even come forward. Standard playbook, Reagan nodded. But we planned for this, remember? River's phone buzzed. Martha's clear. She quit this morning, took everything from her house. She's on her way here. Good. I took a deep breath. Then it's time for phase 2. Reagan pulled out a burner phone. My SEC contact is ready. 1 call and we release everything. The documentation, the offshore accounts, all of it. Wait, River said, pulling up another news site. Look at this. A new headline scrolled across the screen. Graham Industries cuts all ties with Cooper Industries amid fraud investigation. Otis Graham released a statement, River read. We are shocked by these allegations and are fully cooperating with federal authorities. Our planned merger was contingent on complete transparency, which was clearly not provided. I laughed darkly. Shocked? Please. They knew. They just didn't expect to get caught. The office door opened and Martha hurried in, looking smaller without her housekeeper's uniform. Trinity. I hugged her tight, smelling the familiar lavender perfume she'd worn all my life. Thank you for everything, Martha. Are you okay? Better than your parents, she pulled back, her eyes fierce. Your mother threw a crystal vase at the wall when the SEC arrived. Your father's been locked in his study making calls all morning. Did they suspect you? No, they're too busy suspecting each other. Your mother accused your father of ruining their lives with his reckless schemes. He blamed her obsession with social status. Reagan held up the burner phone. It's your call, Emma. Release everything now, or wait. I thought about my mother's performance at the press conference, playing the worried parent, about my father's attempts to paint me as unstable, about years of manipulation and control. Do it, I said. Release it all. Reagan dialed, spoke briefly, then nodded. It's done. Within an hour, every major news outlet will have the full documentation. What about you? River asked softly. Are you ready to go public? I'd thought about this moment for weeks. Not yet. Let them squirm first. Let them wonder who betrayed them. Martha touched my arm. Your mother has been drinking heavily. Your father's heart condition. Don't, I cut her off. They didn't care about my mental health when they tried to force me into marriage. They don't get to play the victim now. My phone buzzed. Another news alert. The story was breaking. Words like systematic fraud and criminal conspiracy flashed across the screen. Cooper Industries stock trading halted, River read. Federal agents seen entering corporate headquarters. Trinity, Martha said quietly, using my real name. Whatever happens next, remember why you did this. Not for revenge, but for justice. I looked around at my chosen family. River with her unwavering loyalty, Reagan with her fierce protection, Martha with her years of quiet resistance. They'd helped me find not just freedom but strength. I remember, I said, straightening my shoulders, and soon, so will they. Outside the office, customers were glued to their phones, watching my old world crumble in real time. But in here, surrounded by truth and love, I was building something stronger than my parents' empire of lies. The next move would be theirs. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of what they might do. I was ready for whatever came next. The letter arrived 3 days after the SEC raid. No return address, just my new name written in my mother's perfect penmanship. How she found me, I didn't want to know. You don't have to open it, River said, watching me turn the envelope over in my hands. Yes, I do. I broke the seal and pulled out a single sheet of expensive stationery. Trinity, your father had a minor heart attack yesterday. The doctors say stress was a factor. I know you're behind the investigation. Whatever we did to hurt you, surely this is punishment enough. Come home. We can fix this as a family. Mother. Minor heart attack, Reagan scoffed, reading over my shoulder. More like panic attack when he realized he couldn't destroy evidence fast enough. My phone rang. An unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Trinity? My father's voice, weaker than I remembered. Don't hang up. I put the phone on speaker. River and Reagan moved closer, protective bookends on either side of me. What do you want? My voice stayed steady, surprising me. The SEC is freezing our assets. Your mother's a mess. Is this what you wanted? To destroy everything I built? Everything you built on lies, I corrected. How many other families were you planning to manipulate? How many other daughters were you going to use as bargaining chips? A long pause. You don't understand business. No, you don't understand, Father. I saw the documents, all of them. The fraud, the cover-ups, the planned merger with the Grahams to hide your illegal dealings. Did you really think I'd never find out? Where are you? His voice hardened, more like the father I remembered. We need to discuss this in person. Your mother's lawyer is probably very busy right now, I cut in. How many years do you think you're looking at, Father? Federal fraud charges aren't like your country club violations. I'm still your father, he snapped. Everything I did was to secure your future. My future? I laughed bitterly. You mean securing your future by selling me to the highest bidder? The Grahams would have what? Hidden your crimes in exchange for your daughter? Was that the real merger plan? Another pause. I heard ice cubes clinking in a glass. Even during a crisis, he wouldn't skip his scotch. Come home, he said finally. We can make this go away. The SEC, the investigation, all of it. We're still powerful enough. No. The word came out sharp and clear. You're not powerful anymore. That's why you're calling. You're desperate. Trinity, please. My mother's voice now. She must have been there all along. We're your parents. We love you. Love? My voice cracked. Love doesn't come with conditions. Love doesn't treat people like property. We can change, she pleaded. Whatever you want. Just call off the investigation. Reagan squeezed my shoulder. River nodded encouragingly. You're right about one thing, I said. I am behind the investigation. I have copies of everything, and tomorrow I'm going to the SEC in person to testify. You wouldn't, Father growled. You'd destroy this family? You destroyed this family long ago. I'm just making sure you can't destroy anyone else's. Think about what you're doing, Mother said. Once you do this, there's no going back. I looked at the people around me. My real family. I don't want to go back. I'm going forward. Trinity! I hung up. The phone immediately rang again. And again. And again. Block the number, Reagan advised. You said what needed to be said. They'll try to stop you, River warned. The SEC testimony. Let them try. I stood up, stronger than I'd felt in months. I'm not afraid anymore. Martha appeared in the doorway. I just saw the news. Your father's company stock is being delisted tomorrow. Good. I picked up my mother's letter and tore it in half. They need to learn that actions have consequences. Are you ready for tomorrow? River asked. Once you testify, your name will be public. Everyone will know. I thought about the scared girl who'd fled in the night 6 months ago. She'd been running away, but tomorrow I'd be running toward something, toward justice, toward truth, toward real freedom. I'm ready, I said. It's time everyone knew the truth about Cooper Industries, about all of it. We'll be right there with you, Reagan promised. Outside, rain fell on Seattle's streets, washing everything clean. Tomorrow would bring cameras, questions, and consequences. But tonight, I was exactly where I needed to be. surrounded by people who loved me for who I was, not what I could do for them. The phone rang one last time before I blocked the number. Let them worry tonight. Tomorrow they'd learn what real power looked like. The SEC building loomed before me, all glass and steel. Camera crews clustered near the entrance, waiting. My testimony had been kept quiet, but somehow they knew something big was coming. Ready? River adjusted my blazer collar, a far cry from the designer suits my mother used to choose for me. As I'll ever be. I gripped the document folder tighter. Where's Reagan? Already inside with her contact, Martha's watching from the cafe across the street. River checked her phone. Your parents just arrived, back entrance. My stomach lurched. They're here? Of course they are. Their lawyers probably insisted. River squeezed my hand. But they can't stop you, not anymore. We approached the entrance. Cameras swiveled toward us, but no one recognized me yet. 5 more steps. 4. 3. Trinity! My mother's voice cut through the morning air. She stood at the corner of the building, designer sunglasses hiding what I suspected were hungover eyes. Father wasn't with her. Ms. Parker, an SEC official approached. We're ready for you. Mother pushed forward. Trinity, please. Don't do this to us. To your father. His heart. Ms. Cooper, the official interrupted. This is a federal proceeding. Any attempt to interfere with a witness. Witness? Mother's voice rose. She's my daughter. Reporters perked up, cameras turning. The morning news would have their story now. Not anymore, I said clearly, loud enough for the cameras to catch. You lost the right to call me daughter when you tried to sell me to cover up fraud. Gasps and clicking shutters. Mother's face went white. Inside, the hearing room was smaller than I expected. Father sat with his lawyers looking old and grey. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Please state your name for the record, the lead investigator said. I leaned into the microphone. Trinity Cooper, although I now legally go by Emma Parker. And you have documentation regarding Cooper Industries' financial dealings. I opened my folder. Yes, 8 years of records showing systematic fraud, money laundering, and illegal offshore accounts. Father's lawyer stood. We object to this testimony. Ms. Cooper is clearly acting out of personal vendetta. The evidence speaks for itself, I cut in, sliding the first document forward. This shows the initial transfer to the Cayman Islands account, dated the same day my father began negotiations with Graham Industries for my arranged marriage to their heir. More documents followed, years of careful records, thanks to Martha's diligence. Father's face grew paler with each revelation. Mother sat in the back, quietly crying. And this final document, I said, pulling out the contract I'd found in Martha's files, shows that the Graham merger wasn't just about business. It was a carefully orchestrated cover-up, with me as the sacrificial lamb. That's enough, Father stood suddenly. This is ridiculous. She's just a bitter child who… Mr. Cooper, the investigator warned, sit down or you'll be removed. I met my father's eyes. I'm not a child anymore, and I'm not your property. Everything I did, he said hoarsely, was for this family. No, everything you did was for yourself, and now you're going to face the consequences. The hearing lasted 3 more hours. I presented evidence, answered questions, watched my parents' empire crumble one document at a time. When it was over, reporters swarmed the steps outside. River appeared at my side, shielding me from the chaos. Trinity! Mother pushed through the crowd. You've ruined us. Are you happy now? I turned to face her, cameras rolling. I didn't ruin anything. Your choices did that. Your lies, your manipulation. We gave you everything, she hissed. No, you took everything. My choices, my freedom, my trust. But not anymore. Father emerged, surrounded by lawyers. He looked defeated, small. The board is demanding my resignation, he said to no one in particular. Good, I replied. Maybe they'll choose someone who understands that people aren't commodities to be traded. Ms. Cooper, reporters called. What motivated you to come forward? I looked at River, thought of Reagan and Martha waiting across the street. The truth motivated me, and the hope that no other daughter will be used the way I was. Mother reached for me one last time. Please, Trinity, we're still family. No, I said quietly. Family doesn't hurt each other like this. Family protects each other. And I finally found people who understand that. I walked away, River beside me, leaving my parents to face the cameras alone. Their lawyers would work all night, trying to save what they could of the company, of their reputations. But I was done. The truth was out. Justice was in motion. Across the street, Martha and Reagan waited with coffee and proud smiles. My real family, my real home. The cameras followed, but I didn't care anymore. Let them see. Let everyone see what happens when you choose truth over power, love over control. Let them see me, finally free. The autumn rain tapped against Reagan's cafe windows as I wiped down the espresso machine. The news played quietly on the TV above the counter. Another story about Cooper Industries dismantling and sale. Still weird seeing your father in handcuffs? River asked, sliding onto a bar stool. Not as weird as seeing my mother check into rehab, I replied, starting her usual oat milk latte. Martha says she's actually doing the work this time. Speaking of Martha, River nodded toward the door. Martha entered, shaking rain from her umbrella. She looked younger somehow, more relaxed in casual clothes than she ever had in her housekeeper's uniform. The house sold, she announced, settling beside River. Some tech executive bought it. They're turning the grounds into a community garden. I smiled at the irony. My mother's precious manicured lawns transformed into something actually useful for the community. How's the new job? I asked, sliding her a cup of Earl Grey. The women's shelter needs all the help they can get. Turns out I'm good at helping people start over. She gave me a meaningful look. I learned from the best. The bell chimed again. Reagan hurried in, waving a letter. Emma, this just came for you. My new name felt natural now, a choice rather than an escape. I opened the envelope and gasped. What is it? River leaned over. It's from the SEC, I said, scanning the letter. They're using the seized Cooper assets to create a foundation for helping women escape financial abuse and coercive control. And, Reagan prompted, grinning like she already knew, they want me to help run it. Martha clasped her hands together. Oh, Trinity, Emma, that's perfect. Is it? I set the letter down. Part of me still feels guilty. About my father's heart condition, my mother's breakdown. Stop, River said firmly. Their choices led to those consequences. Your choice was to tell the truth. Besides, Reagan added, your mother's doing better in rehab than she ever did drowning her guilt in vodka. Sometimes rock bottom is where people find themselves. The TV caught my attention. Another breaking news alert. My father's face appeared on screen as the anchor spoke. Former CEO Xander Cooper pleaded guilty today to multiple charges of fraud and financial misconduct. In a surprising statement, Cooper expressed remorse not for his financial crimes, but for, quote, sacrificing my daughter's happiness for profit. Cooper faces up to 15 years. I turned down the volume. He actually admitted it. People can surprise you, Martha said softly, even after all these years. The cafe door opened again. A young woman entered, looking nervous and lost, the same way I'd looked that first night in Seattle. Can I help you? I asked. She twisted her engagement ring anxiously. I heard this was a safe place. Someone at the women's shelter gave me this address. Said to ask for Emma. River and Reagan exchanged knowing looks. Martha smiled into her tea. Have a seat, I said, already reaching for a clean mug. Let me guess. Family trying to control your life? She nodded, tears welling up. My father. There's this merger. I'm supposed to marry. I know exactly what you're going through. I placed a hot chocolate in front of her. And I know exactly how to help. As I listened to her story, I thought about choices and consequences, about truth and justice, about how sometimes you have to break something completely before you can build something better. The rain continued outside, but in here it was warm and safe. River typed resources into her phone. Reagan already had her network of contacts ready. Martha offered gentle encouragement born from years of watching and waiting and helping. And me? I wasn't running anymore. I wasn't hiding. I was exactly where I needed to be, helping another daughter find her voice, her strength, her freedom. "What's the first step?" the young woman asked. I smiled, remembering my own first step into this new life. "The first step is choosing yourself. Everything else follows from that." She took a deep breath, slipped off her engagement ring, and placed it on the counter. "Then that's what I choose." River squeezed my hand under the counter. Reagan winked. Martha beamed with pride. The TV still played silently above us, showing the end of an empire built on lies. But here, in this cafe, we were building something stronger, a network of truth, of support, of real family. I picked up the SEC letter again, running my fingers over my new name. Emma Parker, advocate and survivor. It wasn't the life my parents had planned for me. It was better. "Welcome to your first day of freedom," I told the young woman. "Trust me, you're going to love where this journey takes you."